are they now? It's interesting. Oh. There we go. Hey, Gruskov, you get used to it. Hello, hello. Good to see y'all. How's everybody doing? Where am I going? I remember now. Bonfire, thank you for the super chat. Sorry, things been stressful. Hopefully it gets easier for you. Best wishes to you from stranger in Nebraska. Well, Bowfoot, you're hardly a stranger. Appreciate the sweet words. Yeah, it's been unfortunate. Like I don't want to. What? Jesus fucking Christ! There's a lot of people on today. I don't want to overly wax lyrical about it, but we basically found out that the oldest, I believe, yeah, the oldest living member of my family discovered that she has a rather aggressive form of breast cancer, which is obviously not ideal. It's pretty unfortunate. So, kind of caught everybody a bit off guard. But, so, you know, kind of sucks. It's not kind of, you know, that's typically not the stuff you want to hear about. But, hopefully they'll be able to, they caught it, like, as early as they realistically could have.
Now you have me playing Final Fantasy 2.
Oh no. Salter, I'm so sorry. Thank you for the 39 months, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sorry about your bad news. Love you, buddy.
Thank you, Kitmans. Thank you for the 32 months. Good lord, y'all been around here a long time. Oh my good grief. Wait, which one's the elite mark? Oh. Just go grab these because I can. Ugh. But in any event, I figure we're mostly gonna focus on having fun with getting the main story quest along tonight. A part of me, I'm gonna be honest, a part of me is kinda tempted to maybe level another, like a different type of career, like level one of my healing classes a bit tonight, like pretty aggressively. I'm not 100% sure I want to do that yet. I think maybe I want to get 2.4 over with, like get to 2.5, and then maybe consider that again. But it's definitely on my mind, is the way I would put it. But I hope you're all doing okay. Hope you're all doing really well. So I'm just gonna get this because, like, might as well. It's, you know, good to get your little weekly hunter's marks done really, really fast. Weekly and daily, just because I do need these for something in the long, distant future. But this is like an easy thing along with dailies that we can knock out right at the beginning of the stream while we're just kind of focusing on like chatting, letting everybody get time to get into the stream. Stuff like that, you know, kind of just knock out some hunter's marks and dailies for beast tribes. I think is a really good use of like the first 30-ish minutes of the stream. But how are y'all doing? How's everybody doing? I'd much rather hear happy things about what y'all have got going on. Hopefully happy things about what y'all have got going on. I mean, it's okay. It's totally okay if you don't have happy things going on. You know, that's just life. You know, I don't want y'all to feel like you have to be like, oh, I can't say how I'm doing because I'm not doing well. Like, I care about what y'all have been up to. Where is this fucking bee? Trying Black Myth Wukong. Let me know how that is. I'm curious if that's good or not. It looks really good. Oh man, did you see like the animation they made for it? Like, I don't understand what's going on, but like, holy shit, is it impressively made. Like, I've heard supposedly they might do an entire animation about the game. Sign Conjurer White. Yeah, Conjurer is probably what I would want to do. I've been doing a marvelous job of apparently... since my mark to the north. It's close. There it is. Is the stream tomorrow going to happen? Yes! Yes, it is. Andy and I have both fixed our internet. I upgraded the fuck out of my internet. I think I went from like... Oh, I don't know the exact number of it. But I think my internet is like well over 10 times faster than it was. Like it is significantly improved. And like, we got a lot of the hardware changed out from like old hardware to like completely brand new hardware. So just vast improvements to my internet, which is good because my internet wasn't bad. But now it's like sexy. Okay, we're not gonna go for these two because these ones require you to like find specific public or whatever you call them. Public quests, but I don't want to deal with that. Things been well. Got to play some Tabletop Simulator with friends today. We did Cryptid and Elder Sign. Oh, awesome. I've been bugging Andy. They need to get Dark Deeds on Tabletop Sim so people can like try it and be able to play with international friends. Because like... I'm gonna help this person. I see a fellow brother struggling. Yeah, I've been... What do I need? Giant logger. That's a giant lugger. Which is annoyingly not the same thing, I guess? Nope, not the same thing. Huh. But anyway, there it is, giant logger. I wish Black Myth was more of the source material than the dark fantasy that's going for that in the parent company. Yeah, to my understanding, it's not really Journey to the West. It's more of like a adjacent story. But I will say it's nice to see it's interesting to see a major Japanese publisher make a AAA game, because, you know, China doesn't tend to have very good success when it comes to AAA games that break out in the West. That just doesn't happen. So this is kind of the first time that they've really been able to do that. So I'm interested to see how it does. And like if people end up really enjoying the entire experience or whatever. Hey, Heart of Full Metal, thank you. I appreciate that. China's definitely loving it so far. I hear a lot of people have been enjoying it. But yes, the stream tomorrow is gonna happen. Oh, guys, man, so y'all want to know how excited I am for tomorrow's stream? I have done so much research on the old ones that I've got a full document finished to talk about for the old ones. It is dense. It's a lot more than I thought I was gonna have. And it's gonna be really interesting. I'm curious what Andy's gonna think about a lot of the stuff that I dug up. But I went back and I read every single source that I could find on the old ones. From, like, White Dwarf to, like, White Dwarf articles to, like, the first time they were really expanded on in the first Lizardman Army book, to, like, the roleplay game, to I even reread all of my Age of Sigmar stuff. I actually spent so much time doing research that I ended up making myself really sick, because I have this weird, my brain does this really annoying thing where if I stay up too long, if I stay up too late, and I'm not careful, I can kind of like, I can reach a point where if I've been awake for too long, it's hard to describe, but it's like a switch flicks in my brain, and it makes it where I just can't go to sleep. Like I'll end up getting really, really anxious, and I'll just start to feel really bad, and it's a whole stupid fucking thing. But it makes it really, really difficult for me to just calm down and rest. So I ended up having like a horrible morning, because I just couldn't sleep last night because I was up reading so late. Because I was just like flipping through so much stuff and like quadruple checking like all sorts of different sources and like comparing different writings against other different writings, and I was in the zone. But being in the zone came at a cost. It was not free of charge. There was a price I had to pay for delving into such wisdom, which is hilarious and appropriate. Where the hell these Sahagin? Sapsa Shelf Spine. Aha! Do I hate anxiety? It is the bane of my fucking existence, man. Like, one of the hardest things to describe to people is like how different of a person I used to be before I got my like anxiety disorder. Like I was like a completely different human being. And it's weird knowing that that person, that other version of me is basically dead and will like never come back. Like that's just a version of me that no longer exists, which is such a strange concept of that, you know, one day a part of my brain just heavily rerouted, and that's just that was the end of Ryan, and the start of a new Ryan that is very different. Alright, let's knock out our dailies real fast. Starting with these guys, just because we're in the area. Piracy, struck another trading vessel. Okay, yeah, okay. Making sure nothing super new came up. You delved too greedily and too deep into the night. It's true. It's true. I most certainly did. So what happens when you contemplate the wisdom of the old, or when you try and understand the old ones, right? If you try and understand the old ones too deeply, your brain will start to fracture under knowledge not meant for man. End of Ryan, start of Ryan. No, I can't. So do y'all, okay, y'all want to know a funny, just a random fun fact about me? So when my mother was pregnant with me and my parents were considering what my name should be, originally they were deeply considering naming me Brian. But the thing that came up was that, and the reason they went with Ryan, not Brian, is that my parents were like, they were like talking about it, and they were like, okay, well, the problem is that our last name starts with an S. So if they name me Brian, my initials would be BS. And my parents, especially my father, but my parents were like, absolutely not. Like, just no. Absolutely not. We are not naming our child BS. He will hate us when he grows older. Never. This may not be allowed to happen. You invited Zinch to study a subject. Whenever you study anything, man, Zinch inevitably gets involved. That's actually something I work really hard on. That is really difficult to avoid with Warhammer. Is like the ubiquitousness of Zinch, where like it's always Zinch. It's always fucking Zinch, which I find annoying. That's why I always try really hard to try and find ways to make it not Zinch. Because I don't know. I feel like he gets way too much credit, especially considering that I like to knock him down a peg. I like to knock him down a peg as much as possible. Because I feel like he gets overused. Now granted, some of that may be because I'm a Nurgle fanboy, so you know, there may be other there may be other motivations at hand. But yeah. Rude? Little bastard. Okay, got our mushrooms. Man, this one's sending me like really far out here. Oh, I don't even know if I can go out here. How do I... Oh, borrow an Elpst. Oops. Okay, hold on. Let me let me fly back over here real quick. Oh, can I interact with this one maybe? Yes. Okay, great. Get out of the way, you fucking chocobo. It's like the real life Sadie. How horrifying would it be if the Chaos Force could summon and bind primals into demon engines, and which would be the most powerful, terrifying one? I mean, you could kind of argue that's what things like, that's like what a Kadai Destroyer is, essentially. Because the thing about the Chaos Dwarves, right, is that the Chaos Dwarves are clever enough that they would not want to simply bind a primal. They wouldn't do it that simple, easily. What the Chaos Dwarfs would want to do, and would make the Chaos Dwarfs a really nasty force within the Final Fantasy universe, is that the Chaos Dwarfs would desire to find a way to rip the primals apart and like break them down into much more of their core essence. And once they had basically broken them down, then using that to empower their machines. The only way you would see them actually going as far as like trying to attempt to like kind of what happened with Bahamut, right? But not as they would do a better job at it. It's kind of the funny thing. In a lot of ways, the Chaos Dwarves would be very similar to the Alligans, except for the Chaos Dwarves wouldn't fuck it up. Alright, take me to... Corn Shima, thank you for the super chat. Any case where Zinch actually lost and got frustrated instead of just being, it was my plan all along? Yes. Well, okay, so I need to preface this by saying it depends on what writer you ask, because some writers are going to say, no, that's not how Zinch works. Is that Zinch fundamentally as an entity cannot be frustrated. And the reason for that, according to some authors, is that Zinch as an entity does not really have a concept of winning. Is the best way I can describe it. Is that Zinch is so much working against itself, and it's such an insane entity, that it's constantly maneuvering against itself and countering itself and screwing with itself, that there is no scenario where Zinch truly loses, because there's also no scenario where Zinch truly wins, is the way some authors handle it. There are other authors that make Zinch simpler, and a little bit more characterful. And those authors have it where, yeah, no, Zinch can absolutely have his ass kicked. And that ties into the most famous story, of course, being the so-called creation of magic mythology, which is a story that happened within the realms of chaos, but whether or not it actually created magic is debatable. So what that story is about is that was the one true time where Zinch became the greatest of the dark gods. Like, Zinch took over the pantheon. So Zinch becomes the most powerful dark god within the entire pantheon, and he is ascending to a level where he is going to be able to basically become just God, Big G. But when this happens, the other three gods gang up on him. So the so Korn, Nurgle, and Slanesh team up.
Dude, the death of the former self is so real though. After therapy and medication, I'm shocked with how much easier it is to move through the world.
I'll comment on that in a minute. But Korn, Slanesh, and Nurgle all team up together, fight side by side, and aid one another as much as possible to fight back Zinch's sorcery. And there's this big epic saga about how Korn, Nurgle, and Slanesh are fighting side by side and backing each other up, and they ascend this great tower that Zinch is upon the top of, this mountain that Zinch has ascended upon, and Zinch is at the top, the precipice of this mountain. And they fight their way up to him, and there's this big, ridiculous, over-the-top battle, and at the climax of the battle, Korn, Nurgle, and Slanesh, through their own methods, manage to get their hooks into Tzeentch, and they drag him and throw him from the mountaintop. So Tzeentch is hurled from the mountain and is smashed against the mountain range or whatever below him. So Tzeentch slams into the ground with such force that he, as a god, is shattered into billions of pieces. And all of these pieces fly off in every possible direction, many of which leaving the realm of chaos and going into reality, or heading into realms of dreams. And each of these little fragments are spells. So every spell that has ever been made, ever existed, is one of these fragments that basically found its way into the mind of a mortal who then was able to use it to cast a spell. So basically the language of magic, according to this myth, is just a teeny tiny fragment of Tzeentch. And this ties into the whole thing of the blue scribes, where the blue scribes are two blue horrors that Tzeentch created, whose only job is to go around and record every single spell in existence, because if they gather all of the spells in existence, they will be able to reunify Tzeentch and remake him into this ultimate godlike form. Of course, the joke being that it's impossible. It's literally impossible. Because the problem with this system is that it's not just every spell, it's every version of every spell. So if someone is let's say someone's casting a really simple spell like a basic fireball, right? So if someone casts fireball, okay, well that's one version of the spell. Okay, if someone overcasts fireball and makes it bigger, well, okay, that's a new version of the spell. If someone messes around with it to make it where he throws out multiple fireballs, well, that's a new version of the spell. If somebody is casting it and they miscast, so like he's casting the spell and he accidentally mispronounces one of the syllables and like blows himself up, well, that's a new version of the spell. So because of the fact that time continues to move forward, and there is an endless number of individuals who are constantly innovating on magic and making mistakes with magic, the blue scribes will never succeed. So that version of Tzeentch will never return. Which, once again, depending on the author you're talking to, could be viewed as Tzeentch's greatest defeat, but another author could very easily flip it and say it's Tzeentch's greatest victory. Because if that has even a fragment of truth to it, that means that Tzeentch was able to proliferate himself and his corruption throughout all of time and reality in the form of all spells. So it just depends. What would I have been named if I was a girl? I have no idea. I don't think my parents had a backup name for me. They might have, I don't know. Okay, anyway. Greetings, honored ally. Have you heard the murmuring around the camp? It seems a bedraggled merchant has wandered close to the Ring of Ash after escaping a Flame Fang attacker. Our scouts retort, okay, yeah, we did this one before, so it's the whole summoning. Compared to the seething ranks of the Flame Fangs, the Brotherhood of Ash is a small force indeed. Thus, we seek to attain the pinnacle of strength. We are to triumph against our foes' numerical advantage. It is not a matter of merely holding our martial prowess. Equal consideration and efforts must be afforded our weapons as well as our mounts. It is to our cavalry drakes that I would turn your attention. The flames they breathe can be greatly intensified by feeding them the incendiary glands of a more mature creature. Such glands we require can be harvested from the battle drakes of Xanarak, a breed coveted for their unusual strength and ferocity. Before engaging these desert demons, however, I suggest you first acquire oil of the lizardbane plant. Cast the substance at the battle drake's snout and the creature will be crippled by nausea. That said, do not expect one to simply roll over to submit to your ungentle ministrations. Return to us as swiftly as you are able and feed the glands to our mounts while the organs are yet fresh. The Makote and Forgotten Springs have grown desperate in their ongoing conflict with the Flame Fangs. They have spread their forces too thin in an effort to protect their hunting grounds. The U tribe will not accept aid from us, but we cannot allow their ill-considered tactics to result in even more tempered slaves. I have devised a solution to this quandary. as there are various problems that would arise from direct confrontation. I propose that we employ the unbearable heat of a drake's breath to drive the Rangers back to their settlement. Such a measure will not cow the seasoned hunters for long, but will at least prevent the Flame Fangs from swelling their ranks till we have a chance to enact further plans. So with our Master of Drakes at the edge of the Sogoli and heed his instructions well. Okay, and these ones we've all done before, so I don't need to read these. Hey, Polex, how you doing? Biofoot, thank you very much for the 38 months, well over 3 years. Hot damn, you fucking legend. The death of the former self is so real, though. After therapy and medication, I'm shocked with how much easier it is to move through life. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about my experience in that there were things I deeply miss about who I used to be, but there are also things that I'm so glad that I grew out of. Because there are aspects of younger me that I'm not proud of. Where younger me had, you know, a tendency to be very selfish and borderline cruel. However, I do miss not having anxiety. Not like I do now. Where like now, like, you know, I take medication to keep my brain in like a really nice, healthy balance. Which was not necessary when I was younger, before my life went kind of through like a really dramatic and sudden shift, where I used to be the kind of guy that I could happily travel dozens of hours by myself on the road without a care in the world. You know, like I could go on these big epic adventures by myself and not even care in the slightest. You know, I had a very carefree lifestyle and was able to kind of just do whatever I wanted without worrying about a lot of things. But when I developed my anxiety, that changed. That was no longer possible for me. And now I've gotten a lot better. Like, I was able to go to Scotland, and I spent almost the entirety of my Scotland trip alone for like 2.5 weeks. So, you know, I'm still capable of it, but it definitely, like, it takes a certain amount of effort. And it's not effort, you know, it's not like a simple, casual, effortless experience. It's something I have to very much prepare for and consider carefully, rather than just like running into willy-nilly. I think I'm a better person. I can say that with like extreme confidence. I feel like I'm a much better human being than I was when I was younger. I'm certainly much more empathetic than I used to be. But you know, that's just life. You have ups and downs. Oh, come on. Which of the Warhammer gods would be a good fit in a game like Smite? Pretty much any of the major ones. Like, any of the ones you would probably know off the top of your head would be totally great. So, like, all of the dark gods, maybe like a somewhere between 1 to 3 of the old ones. Any of the elven gods, any of the like the classical southern gods, any of the empire gods. Like, literally any of those gods would work. So, all of the Warhammer gods are pretty easily designed so that they would work for a game like that. You know, obviously you'd want to lean into your war gods first and foremost, but even that you could play around with pretty easily. You know, because of just the nature of Warhammer as a setting, the vast majority of the gods are fundamentally designed to be fighters, you know, or, you know, capable of extreme violence. Giving up alcohol changed me for a better. Dude, I'm gonna be super blunt. I am so glad that I never, ever, 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 ever fucked with alcohol. That would not have been a good relationship. Like, I've had like a couple of shots in my life, but like not enough to do anything with. And I am extremely glad I made that decision, where at a pretty young age, I was like, nah, I'm just not gonna drink. Like, you know, I will have like a shot of one thing to like celebrate someone, and they're all like, oh, we're gonna take a round of shots. And I'll be like, okay, yeah, sure, I can do one. That's not enough for me to even feel tipsy. But yeah, no, I don't fuck with alcohol. Especially because my family history does not have a great relationship with drinking. Where it's like all the men in my family that drank, all of them went through like a period where they essentially got addicted to it and made a lot of really, really shitty decisions. And then would finally be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna put my life back together now. I'm like, yeah, I'm just not gonna do that. I'm just not. I just don't think that's worth it. Is weed legal in Texas? No, but I would not take it even if it was, because I have an anxiety disorder. And if you have an anxiety disorder, weed is a pretty nasty... It's a pretty severe gamble. Once again, just not worth it. I'm happy the vast majority of the time, and I live a life that I'm quite comfortable with. So I don't have a reason to take any other substances. Yeah, you know, all of those things, those types of things, they all come with a cost. Does Nagash count as a god? In the case of a game like Smite, yeah, I would say Nagash would count as a god, yeah. I mean, Nagash has been stronger than gods at points in his story, so I think a game like Smite, Nagash would be a very, very, very... He would be a very appropriate character. Ow, ow, ow! God's damn Drake, I'll put an arrow down your throat next time! I like how we're just randomly going out and burning cat girls to be like, go back to your house! Go on, get! Shoot! Shoot! I don't think my neighborhood would approve if I used fire-breathing lizards to chase their cats out of my yard. Because we have a couple of irresponsible cat owners in my neighborhood who have outdoor cats, which drives me fucking insane. But I just, that's Sadie's job. Sadie chases them off. The heat sears my eyes! I like how they don't seem to notice that I am the one riding this creature up to them and, like, trying to burn them. Thankfully, they seem unaware of my involvement. You figured there could be a slight diplomatic incident with the Mikote if they're like, Why is this guy who used to be our ally, like, trying to burn us to scare us off? Where did Games Workshop get all the ideas for the different Chaos Gods? They stole them. Mostly from other IPs, and inspirations. So a lot, the Chaos Gods as a concept are flat out stolen from the writings of an author called Michael Moorcock. And then as the Chaos Gods continued to evolve, they were stolen from, or they were basically stolen from various concepts and evolved on. So, not Moorcocks, Moorcock. It's spelled like how you think it is. Moorcock, I think. But the big things with them was that Tzeentch is, as they continue to evolve, Tzeentch was very, very heavily inspired by Lovecraftian mythos and Lovecraftian type entities. So he's very Lovecraft inspired. Nurgle is a very, very, very popular trope concept that was heavily inspired by Nergal, who is an actual deity from Mesopotamia, I think, or Babylon, something like that. Some ancient mythos, though he wasn't a disease god back then, but there are actually a number of different times that a god by the name of Nurgle that is a disease god pops up in a lot of popular culture. Khorne, as the blood god Khorne, if I recall correctly, is mostly ripped from Moorcock's writings. And then Slaanesh has a significant amount of inspiration from like Christian mythos. The contented purring of our drakes tell me you have succeeded in your task. I look forward to witnessing the blazing results of your efforts. The Makote have retreated from the sands? That is well. Spilling blood without cause will not further our agenda. I thank you, honored ally. Still got another quest I gotta do for him. Okay, hey, Papa Neeks, thank you so much for the 7 months. I really appreciate it. Where's that last quest I'm supposed to have? Hard to port. Oh, it's this one again. Okay, yeah. This guy's like, oh, they stole all my shit. Yeah, I'm on it. Actually, interesting question. Would you know the origin of pairing dinosaurs to Aztec and Central American concepts? I have no idea where that originates from. I don't believe Games Workshop might have started it. I don't think they did, but they might have. Yeah, I genuinely do not know where the popular trope of Aztec, Mayan, Central American designs and dinosaurs started to intersect. I mean, I think it very obviously comes from, I think it very obviously is inspired and comes from an idea that, they live in this ancient primordial jungle where there's all sorts of strange, gigantic creatures. So, dinosaurs surely could have continued to live in these environments because there's so many bizarre and horrible man-eating monsters that live in the jungles. So, surely dinosaurs could still be out there, considering they have like these giant crocodiles and all these other crazy things. But yeah, I don't know where the first time of that being used as a trope popped up. That would be an interesting thing to learn about. The only thing Games Workshop did not steal was the Skaven. The Skaven are the most famous example. Games Workshop came up with a couple things on their own. The most notable things that GW came up with was the Skaven, obviously. Games Workshop also invented the Zotes, which are one of the less impressive examples, but still worth noting. But yeah, the Zote is actually original to Games Workshop, which is neat. And I'm trying to think what else. Like the Zote, the Skaven, I will say I do think the direction Games Workshop ended up taking the Lizardmen in ended up being relatively unique. As far as making the Lizardmen like the actual like good guys, where they're these primordial ancient custodians of the planet, and they are quite literally, undeniably, from a very fundamental standpoint, the good guys. From the sense of protecting the planet and making sure that the apocalypse does not happen. Which is interesting. A lot of the times when you're dealing with lizard men or dinosaur men or reptile people, they almost universally end up being villains. So that was something kind of interesting that GW did. But that's not quite the same thing. I wouldn't go so far as to be like, this is truly, utterly unique. I would not go that far. Sion, thank you for all the support tonight, guys. I really appreciate all the super chats. It means the world to me, really, genuinely. What do you think of the Dark King from 30k, 40k, whose almost birth is a big part of the end of the death, primarily Volume 2? He's basically the fifth god of ruin and end of all things. So to my understanding, which is very shaky, the Dark King is essentially a potential thing that the Emperor of Mankind could have turned into, where like basically all of the like worship into him and all the power he's been gaining, he has the opportunity to essentially turn himself, or theoretically he could essentially become a chaos god, the fifth chaos god, but he ends up like rejecting it and essentially splitting that part of him off so that it's unable to come to fruition. If I understand that correctly. Which may be completely inaccurate, but that's like the essential gimmick I've got. That being said, I'm not exactly sure on the specifics because, you know, I've obviously never read the Horus Heresy and I never will, more likely, to be honest. Just because, like, holy shit, that's so much reading I don't want to deal with. He gives up most of the power and cuts out his emotions so that he can kill Horus. I mean, it's got some interesting little snippets to it. I think that how do I say this? I don't think I like the message that's being told with that story of the Emperor abandoning. So it's it sounds like what it's kind of trying to suggest is that, like, the Emperor has to basically sacrifice his humanity in order to defeat Horus, which I find I don't like, if that's what the message is. Because I feel like that kind of suggests a storyline that I'm not as interested in the idea that you have to become less human, like less emotional, less, you know, all that, in order to be able to defeat chaos. My knee-jerk reaction to that, while having a very, very loose, not good understanding of it, is I don't think I like that as a story concept, because I don't like the morals and story that it's communicating by saying that, if that makes sense. But that's from like, I wouldn't feel like super comfortable like heavily commenting on that unless I was like sitting in a room, like unless I was sitting on a Discord call with someone that felt extremely confident about being able to communicate what the message and themes of the stories are, and what are its like strengths and weaknesses, and what the point is. Because obviously from a, like, I may have just said what I said, and someone listening may go, no, that's completely wrong. Like, that's not even close to what the story is, or what it's trying to communicate. And I would go, oh, okay, well, I don't, like, I don't know. But, because I think the idea that humanity would weaken someone instead of being their greatest strength, I think is a storyline I would disagree with, and something that wouldn't work in Warhammer Fantasy. Like, the idea in Warhammer Fantasy that you would need to cut off your emotions, cut off your humanity in order to defeat chaos, I would reject that as a notion. I would say there are characters in Warhammer that would suggest, or Warhammer Fantasy, who would suggest that, oh, that's the way it has to be done. But I would say that the truth behind Warhammer Fantasy actually suggests that that's the wrong way to go about it. Because that's what gives us Archaon. Is a man who rejects his humanity in order to try and do what he believes is the right thing to defeat chaos. And that, like, it sounds like what the Emperor is doing in order to become the Dark King is basically what Archaon does in order to become the Everchosen. And, of course, the moral of the story is that Archaon is wrong. If that, you know, if Archaon had embraced his humanity, he would have maybe been able to see the truth of what was actually happening with chaos. But Archaon doesn't see it. And Archaon makes himself so inhuman that he, of course, brings about the apocalypse in an attempt to save the world, which is, of course, completely ridiculous. But you can understand how Archaon got to where he is. Which, for all I know, Andy would, like, heavily disagree with what I just said. Andy would be like, oh, that's ridiculous. But that's a lot, for me personally, that's how I often interpret Archaon's story, is that Archaon sacrificed his humanity in the name of a greater good. And I think that is the millisecond where Archaon fucked up. I think the Emperor saw it as his love for Horus would prevent him from killing Horus. I get that, but I just don't agree with that as a story. I feel like for me, it's a better story if the Emperor understands that because he loves Horus, he has to kill him. Instead of it being, he has to remove that part of him to do it. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just a different understanding. It's like, I feel like that, to me, is an indication that the Emperor made the wrong choice. He should have, I think that his love for Horus, if he genuinely and deeply loved Horus as a son, it should have been his love for Horus that would have given him the strength to strike Horus down, to free Horus from what he's become, instead of it being the other way around. But I also know that's a really, really common trope It's a super common trope that people like can't take down the bad guy because they're like, oh, when I look at them, I just see my son, and I'm like, oh, well, I couldn't possibly do that, which I find to be overdone as a trope. I just don't agree with it. But I think that's because my understanding of life is very different from some people's understandings of life. Not that there's like a right or wrong interpretation. That's just my attempt at answering a question that I very admittedly do not understand well. Graveghoul, how did Morothy turn into a Medusa-looking thing in Age of Sigmar? Love you, Sotek. Well, thank you, Graveghoul. Love you too. Thank you so much for the kind words. So the simplest way to answer it is that Morathi got devoured by Slaanesh during the end times. And in the millions or billions of years that took place after the end times, Morathi spent that entire time being tortured in Slaanesh's guts, basically being digested, not in the sense of like breaking down so that she would no longer exist, because that's not really how Slaanesh's stomach works. It's more like just hell, like actual hell. And so Morathi was basically subjected to the absolute worst torments imaginable being inflicted on her very soul, tearing it apart and exposing all of its weaknesses and and humiliating her, torturing her, making her suffer in every possible way imaginable. And something happens, which I actually have, it's a bitch to find the note on it. There is one specific part of, I think, the first edition Daughters of Cain battle tome that actually says what happens, and I can't for the life of me figure out where I put my book. But in the first edition Daughters of Cain book, I want to say, there's a very brief mention of what precisely happens that causes Slaanesh to basically throw up Morathi. And this is before Slaanesh is captured. So something happens where like Slaanesh gets indigestion, or Morathi manages to engineer her escape, but something happens. And she basically... Slaanesh basically barfs her out. And when Slaanesh gets thrown up, and just kind of like spit into the Age of Sigmar universe, she basically comes crashing down and crash lands in Ul'dah. And the horrible Medusa monstrosity form of Morathi is Morathi's true form. And what that is it's basically what is left of her after all of the torture and agony and suffering that has been inflicted on her by Slaanesh. So basically, she has been corrupted by Slaanesh into that serpentine monstrosity. That is what caused that. Is the best way I can explain it. There's more you could explore with it, but that's the cliff notes. Scion, praying one day you get to interview Dan Abnett. You can ask him about his ideas about the Emperor and the Dark King. I don't know if someone like Dan Abnett would ever want to talk to me, because I would have a lot of questions about 40K that a 40K author might be uncomfortable answering. Like, I think he'd be fine answering it, but I would really want to take a 40K author to task about what they're trying to communicate with the 40K universe. Like, what is supposed to be the takeaway? What is supposed to be the messaging when you're dealing with the Imperium and the Emperor and Space Marines? Because frankly, my biggest issue with that setting is I feel like there is a massive disconnect between what 40K thinks it is and what its writing makes it into is the way I would put it. Of that, 40K started off as this deeply satirical setting that stands to show and mock all of the worst aspects of concepts like imperialism and fascism, but then it got so caught up in trying to make itself heroic that it kind of forgot the point, and it's really weird because it's held onto its roots of that. It explores a lot of those concepts that are really nasty and gross and grimdark, but it decided to abandon the point, which was to show why that's bad and why that's awful and why that's terrible. And instead it kind of accidentally flipped into being like, no, this is awesome and it's cool and it's epic, and look at these big awesome guys and how cool they are, and look at this brotherhood, and look at this like really strong male system. Because you run into this issue where like you sit back and you're like, a lot of people clearly view these Space Marines and Primarchs as role models, like masculine role models, which I find deeply troubling because they shouldn't be. You know, like, I feel like the story about 40K should show why they're wrong. All of them. And why they are the problem. And they're deeply flawed. And while some of them might try and do the right thing, ultimately they're all very clearly doing the wrong things. But that's not what the setting does. The setting paints them very obviously as the heroes who are doing the right thing. Which gets... My biggest thing is, I think 40K is a really shit grimdark setting. Like, I don't think it's grimdark anymore. Which is, I think, a problem. Not because I particularly care if it's grimdark. I don't give a shit. Like, if 40K wants to stop being grimdark, that's fine. Stop being grimdark. I don't consider fantasy a grimdark setting. Even though, like, I would say that fantasy is actually way more grimdark than 40K is. My problem with 40K is it likes to pretend it's a grimdark setting. So it uses all of the nasty shit that grimdark settings can kind of get away with. Because a grimdark setting is supposed to showcase to the readers that everything you're seeing is bad. These are all horrible, terrible things. This place sucks. And when it all burns down and it ceases to exist, honestly, that's probably the best thing for everyone. And 40K just can't bring itself to do it because they just don't want to do that. That's just not the kind of writers they have. The writers are like, no, I want to tell a heroic story. I want to tell a story about how humanity always wins. I want to tell a story about how humanity is the most badass, kick-ass, super pew-pew-pew, like cowboys out in the universe. And they're awesome. And I want to show how, like, they win in spite of impossible odds. And how, like, yada, 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 yada. And you're sitting there in the back going, this is not grimdark. Like, literally the only way you could even possibly consider this grimdark is that you look at it and go, oh, well, at some point, eventually, in the future, everybody's gonna die, no matter what, so it's a grimdark setting. But I would counter that, well, okay, but the universe clearly is not communicating that message. Like, every time the Imperium is threatened, the Imperium wins. Ever since, like, I could see the argument, like, the Horus Heresy is moderately grimdark. Of that, you know, it's the whole idea of, like, the Emperor being taken out of the equation. But I don't consider 40K to be a grimdark setting. But I think the problem is that 40K considers itself to be grimdark. So it uses a lot of really nasty, horrible shit and uses kind of the shield or excuse of, oh, it's a grimdark setting, so it's totally cool if we use all this terrible shit. Like, if we showcase the absolute worst aspects of humanity. But my problem is I'm raising my hand in the back of the room and I'm like, okay, yeah, but the problem is that you're trying to portray humanity as heroic. Like, you are legitimately trying to portray humanity as the good guys who are heroic, guarded by a freak, mutant, super soldier, brainwashed child soldier group of guys who you are also showing as heroic. When, in reality, they should be horribly, horribly fucked up creatures. Like, Space Marines should be the most nightmarish, fucked up things in the 40k setting. Like, they are child soldiers who are physically and mentally and emotionally brutalized until they're made into monsters. And the setting goes, yeah, no, they're awesome. They're good guys. They're cool. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know about that, guys. Like, I don't vibe with that. And don't get me wrong, like, you may hear what I'm saying, you're like, that's stupid. That's fine. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with me at all. You don't have to agree with me in the slightest. That's totally cool. That's fine. That's just my view on it. You don't have to agree with me. You can think I'm wrong. That's totally fine. I'm not saying you should hate 40k. If you like 40k, great, awesome. I'm happy for you. It's just why I don't like, that's why I don't like it. I don't read it. I don't enjoy it because I think what the setting should be is not what it is. And I don't like what it is. Because I just think it's just problematic and I just don't enjoy it. But that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. I'm not trying to shit on your hobby, I promise. All right, anyway. Who's ready for some main story quest time? Let's get into some main story quest, yeah? Let's get into some main story quest stuff. Let's get into some main story quest stuff. Alright, here we go. Are we finishing tonight? I doubt it. Maybe. I think I'd like to finish maybe 2.4, maybe 2.5. You know, because 2.55 is the end. So maybe we'll get like right up to the end, but not quite the end. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. My thanks for coming, Dalcarius. When you are ready, speak with the conjurer yonder. She will show us to the lotus stand. The Alliance waits you at the lotus stand. Will you be joining them now? Yes. Please be voice acted.
Change has come to the Garlean Empire, and we must discuss the implications.
The rumors are true, then? The War of Succession is ended?
So is...
It is.
I'll let this finish.
A new emperor reigns in Garlemald.
A new emperor. Ooh.
Who?
The birth and all too rapid expansion of the Garlean Empire is commonly attributed to the strategic brilliance of Solus Zosgalvis, yet he did not rule alone. Several members of the royal household also distinguished themselves during his reign. Nevertheless, it was the eldest son who stood to inherit the throne, until his most untimely passing.
Oh, look
I
at
thought us fortunate when I learned that the Emperor had died without naming a successor.
Look at that fucking guy. Jesus. Those are some broad-ass shoulders. Ha! Spits on it. Nice. I like him
Would that
already.
The Garlean Empire had died with him.
I like him already.
'twas the grandson and his uncle who had the strongest claims, was it not?
Indeed, yet claims count for little without the power to assert them. High Legatus Varus Ye Galvus is a respected military leader. Not so his uncle.
Long live!
So young Varus has torn the crown from his uncle's grasp and taken his place at the head of the Empire.
Long live the Emperor! Varius, huh?
Given the troubled nature of his succession, the new emperor will require time to seal his grip on power. Yet have no doubt but that he shall, for there are none left with strength enough to oppose him.
Since the success of Operation Archon, the remnants of the 14th Legion and the forces occupying Alamigo have done naught but fortify their positions. But you can be sure they'll be ready to march on us again, if their Emperor gives the word.
When, not if. They say this Varus was so set upon Eorzean annexation that he spoke out against the Meteor Project.
He's like, don't destroy it, I want that shit! That's funny.
Plainly, the new emperor's intentions are of great concern to us all. I propose that we set aside the Cartno dispute for the present, and discuss what measures the Alliance might take to prepare for a resumption of hostilities with Garlemald. Moreover, I move that we re-examine the question of how our former allies in Ishgard might be persuaded to retake their place at our side. Could Eorzea but stand as one, 'twould deal a grave blow to our enemies' ambitions.
Gonna be a little hard, considering that the High Bishop, or Pope, whatever the fuck his name is being influenced by Ashians.
Well, I suppose we should be grateful that they have finally acknowledged the inevitability of Imperial attack. Who knows? They may even do something about it. If only the leaders of Ishgard would follow their example and stop hiding behind their gates, praying for the coming storm to pass them by.
I don't think that's what they're doing, Alphino. You know?
But that is a discussion for another time. At present, I am more concerned by the fact that the Alliance's mooted preparations will be made known to the Garleans many moons before their coming. So long as the ivy eludes our grasp, no secret is safe.
Like a Roban doesn't have a guard, but Merlvib does. Roban's like, yeah, fucking come at me. See if I give a shit. Do we learn? I don't recall there being anything mentioned about who the prior emperor was and why what killed him or his son. I don't know if that's going to come up later or if I just missed it or forgot. It will not have escaped your notice that the nations of Eorzea are no nearer to being of one purpose, despite their protestations to the contrary. Plainly, the threat of resurgent Garlemald is not enough to stir them. And the reason for this? Deep-rooted mistrust amongst the citizenry. The nation's leaders can come to all the understandings they like, but their unity means little unless to the common folk. Okay, it comes up later. Okay, thank you. Take the Lomensons, for instance. Although Admiral Merlvib outlawed piracy over a decade ago, foreigners still picturing the nation as a haven for grog-swilling, wooden-legged cutthroats. And likewise, the Gridanians are mocked as hermits who talk to trees, and the Uldahs scorned as swindlers who worship coin. Not that such sentiments are entirely without grounds, of course. Take that pillar of Ul'dah society, Telegi Adeleji, for example. But that is beside the point. The fact that the people are wary of outsiders, whether they have cause to be or not. On that basis, one could argue that the conflict at Cartadau is a necessary evil. Each nation has its own warmongering faction that advocates the acquisition of Omega. In order to placate them, we present them something resembling warfare, and thereby curb their appetite for full-scale conflict. But enough idle musing. Let us speak of a more pressing matter, the Ivy. Since we spoke at the Observatorium, Captain Ilberd has further shortened his list of suspects. And by happy coincidence, the one he deems the most likely candidate has lately come to Gridania. The hunt nears its end, Dalcaris. All that remains is to corner our quarry. Seek out Ilberd near the Adder's Nest. He will give you the particulars. Should there be any developments in Corthus, you may be sure I will send word without delay. In the meantime, I wish you success in apprehending the Ivy. Yeah, there are a couple, like, random things I would really like to do today. Like, I would like to do the Extreme Titan fight. Just to have it done. Are Andy and I going to do Lorebeards this weekend? Yes! Lorebeards on the old ones is in about 10 hours from right now. I'm very, very excited for that episode. I've done a lot of research for it. My thanks for coming, Scion. Doubtless the commander has informed you, but we have unmasked the Ivy. From this point on, we must proceed with extreme caution. Solus Vos Galvus. Okay. Cool. Listen well. Oh, god damn it. Prior to joining the Immortal... Oh, that chick. Prior to joining the Immortal Flame, she was a mercenary of no small renown. They say her skill with the polearm had to be seen to be believed. Of Ishgardian birth, she is the highest ranked foreigner in the Immortal Flames. By the Flame General himself, of course.
Kunshimichid, X100. Do you think Volton will be added as legendary hero for the Empire?
No, I don't. I think you'll get Luther Huss, I think you'll get Ludwig Schwarzhelm, and I think you'll get... could you get Volton? Yes, but I would say it's far from a guarantee. Volton's a very tricky character to implement, because the big thing about him is that he has Gal Maraz as a main weapon. But so does Karl Franz. So having Volton and Karl Franz in the same game is a particularly tricky thing. It can be done, but it's tricky. So I really don't know how they're going to want to handle that. Because you would have to do something. It's doable, but it would be tricky. I could see Volton maybe showing up as some kind of specialized... I don't know. I guess they could make Gal Maraz like the Rune Fangs, where like Gal Maraz is a weapon that you can like give to different characters. That might be a way to do it, is just make it like the Rune Fangs. So like, oh, if you want to give Gal Maraz to Karl Franz, you can. If you want to give it to Volton, you can. So maybe that's one way they could do it. So it's possible, but I wouldn't see it anytime soon. Luther Huss would be a much better legendary hero than Volton would be, because Luther Huss would be significantly more useful, to be frank. When he formed the Grand Company, Raban chose people based on their worth. Whence they hailed was of no interest. The Monetarists saw things differently, however. Having funded the enterprise, they reserved the right to reject candidates nominated for high-ranking positions. It was no secret that they did not favor foreigners, Ishgardians especially. after the way the Holy See forsook the Alliance. Yet the Monetarists did not raise so much as a murmur of protest when Roali, we'll go with Roali. Roali was appointed to her post. Passing strange, is it not? Could it be that Ivy has some hold over the Monetarists? I like how we both vanished. It's funny. But these revelations are secondary to our current mission. Of foremost interest to us is Raleigh's presence here and now. As you may be aware, it is the duty of the Flame Marshal to command the Immortal Flames in the absence of the Flame General. While Raban attended the Council of Alliance Leaders, she should have remained in the Hall of Flames. The woman has no business being in Gridania, yet here she is nonetheless, on some pretense. She's up to something, mark my words. She was in the meeting. I saw her, in the meeting we just had. Even as we speak, I have a dozen men trawling the Flames records for evidence of Raleigh's guilt. But if we can catch her red-handed, we shall have all the proof we need. Which brings me to the plan. I have people watching the city gates, the airship landing, and the docks, every point of egress. She cannot leave without our knowledge. All that remains is to shadow her until she betrays her true purpose. And rely upon your eyes, Scion. I'm on it, boss. Are races able to crossbeam Warhammer? Some. You have my thanks. Let us go then, and take care not to alert our quarry. Elves, dwarves, halflings, and ogres cannot crossbeam, because they are completely different species. Oh, Solter's in now. I would like to take a very brief moment to kick the shit out of Extreme Titan. This is for a quest, so we're just gonna unsync it and just kick the shit out of him real fast. I just want it out of my, because the extreme ones are a pain. You have to get a pretty notable little group together, and there's a whole bunch of other random bullshit you gotta deal with. Right, let's go kick the shit out of him real fast, just so I can get this quest off my thing. Hello, Tatsuki. Goodbye, Tatsuki. Do Nobblers seem to hate being called goblins? Is that a common mistake? I mean, the Nobbler would not appreciate you telling him this, but he is technically a goblin. But understandably, they would not consider themselves to be, well, that was fast. They would not consider themselves to be goblins because they're not part of, like, overall greenskin culture. You know, they consider themselves part of ogre culture. They're like, we ain't no goblins. But you'd be like, yeah, no. From all intents and purposes, you are a goblin. Yo, I got a new steed! Let's go! I did absolutely nothing and got a reward! My favorite kind. More pissed off Ashians. Titan displayed a most satisfying degree of destructive power. The intensifying effects of the ritual foci are undeniable. Though this incarnation was, the Primal's eventual defeat was not unexpected. Burgeoning strength shown by the Bringer of Light, however, has grown beyond reckoning. Such a demonstrational force serves us still and invites ever greater retaliation. Yes, as the light burns brighter, so too are the shadows steeped deeper in darkness. Oh, pff, it spit me out here. I was not expecting it to spit me out here, of all places. Alright. Whoop. Maelstrom Command. Should be upstairs. Man, oh guys, tomorrow it's officially, at least where I am, it's officially September. That means we're in the month that CA is gonna give us a new presentation. I don't know about y'all, but I am fucking excited. The rumblings have ceased. It seems that no matter how powerful the Lord of Crags becomes, you and your companions are up to the task. Yes, you found something of interest in the navel. Crag ritual focus. Gruesome ritual tool made from the bones of a kobold. Is this bone? And such a grotesque design. Honestly, I will never understand the kobold's sense of aesthetics. You say you acquired a similar object after your battle with Garuda. Then we must consider the possibility that these trinkets are responsible for the primal's appalling new strength. And I shall leave such conclusions to those that are more learned in the subject than I. Pray return to the Waking Sands and convey my greetings to Urianje. Pray thee return to the Waking Sands. So we got Golfaxi. This one is not as fun or interesting as the ice one is. He's just got like random rocks and like dirt coming out of him. Oh, that looks silly. So the Lord of Crags was also possessed of unprecedented vigor, and thou hast returned with yet another curiosity of bone. The kobolds are not known for fashioning objects in this manner. What is more, its construction doth bear a striking similarity to that of the trophy recovered by thee from Garuda's lair, the fleshless remains of beastmen worshippers. This is the material common of both those foreboding ritual tools. What unsavory sorcery have the paragons bequeathed to their unsuspecting pawns? There is yet another commonality to this augmentation of the primals that concerns me, and that is thee, Dalkarius Adracia. For every mountain thou dost conquer, I am struck such as a cycle bodes not ill for the realm. I must unlock the true nature of these immortal entities ere the land is once more racked with ruin. And as always, thou art my stoutest ally in gathering of the requisite keys. And now he's going to say, oh, can you go deal with Ufrit? We are fortunate that the Lord of Inferno hath yet to rear his horned head. I fear, however, that reports of his return will not be long in the coming. My quest for knowledge yet remains unfinished, but such a task can only properly be undertaken in a world unracked. Let us bow to the inevitability and prepare ourselves for what will undoubtedly turn to another blistering trial. Pray visit High Commander Swift at the Hall of Flames in Ul'dah, and advise him that the fiery primal will likely soon be among us once more.
Hello there. How
Mayhap,
are you doing
with a
all?
measure of foresight,
How's
we can
Sadie
lessen
doing,
the
Sotek?
impact of Ifrit's arrival.
Excited for the faction war to start sometime next year. Any chance of a couple of FFXIV about either Akarth or Hellebron, please? Kill.
Why am I stuck? Oh. That was weird. That was strange. This is the first time that's ever happened. This character selected was not properly logged out or is currently logged into another client. Logging character out. Please wait to log in again. Do I just wait? Oh, please wait to log in again. That was super weird. No, we'll be starting the faction war sooner. I've been dealing with some I've been dealing with some unfortunate family news, but we'll be getting all that up and running here pretty soon. Hopefully in the next week or two. Oh, did the server get DDoSed? That seems to happen a lot to Final Fantasy. Like, every time I open up the starting thing, it's always like, oh, we resolved another DDoS. Oh, we resolved another DDoS. Oh, we resolved another DDoS. Any chance of a couple lore facts about either Rakarth or Hellebrand, please, for Kill for Cain? Probably the biggest ones. Hellebrand had a twin sister. I know she has, I'm pretty sure it was her twin sister. Hellebrand had a twin sister that she was actually quite close to that also went with her in the whole aspect of, like, going after and, like, getting really, really deep into the cult of Cain. Her sister, of course, ends up dying. I can't remember if Hellebrand murders her sister or if she was killed by someone else. I want to say Hellebrand ends up killing her. Yeah, Hellebrand had a twin sister that went with her into the cult of Cain, but I believe she eventually dies. Well, I know she dies, I just can't remember exactly how. Fun things about Rakarth. Rakarth is actually genuinely a criminally underrepresented character. In that one of the cool things about him is he's actually one of the few Dark Elf Beastmasters that we get any good notes on who's actually innovating on the creatures, which makes him very, very different from anything we see with the High Elves and the Wood Elves, where he's genuinely crossbreeding his various monsters, trying to create the most sophisticated kind. That's how he killed the Spellthirster Hydra, which a Spellthirster Hydra is hydras that have, like, magical flames and can quite literally feast on magic and are really, really nasty. Was it a Lithanar that killed her? It might have been a Lithanar that killed her. Dalkarius of the Scions, your timing is most fortunate. Allow me to brief you on the situation. Both the Maelstrom and the Order of the Twin Adder informed us of their recent troubles with disturbingly powerful primals. And, as these incidents ever occur in threes, we immediately sought to gather intelligence on Amal's activity. We lost contact with the first reconnaissance party assigned to the task. I then deployed one of our elite units to learn the fate of the missing scouts, but they also have failed to report back. In their most recent missive, my elite troops declared their intention to investigate the Bowl of Embers. Though they may have been overwhelmed by the Lizardmen, we must consider the possibility that the Lord of Inferno has reclaimed his domain. It is with some measure of wounded pride, then, that I must request your aid. Assemble a group of your companions and strike into the heart of Amalcha territory in southern Thanalan. If Afrit has indeed returned, you are to banish him back to the Ether by whatever means necessary. You will likely have to renew your bond with the Zaharak Aetheryte to enter the Bowl of Embers. The Lizardmen have undoubtedly realigned their crystals since you last felled their god. And unfortunately, that means cutting your way through a goodly number of the sentries to reach it. The Grand Company of the Immortal Flames is no stranger to sacrifice when it comes to battling the primals, but the struggle costs far too many lives, and often creates a host of new tempered enemies. You and your unique talents, however, can spare the families of our soldiers that grief. I shall pass on the news of your involvement in this mission to the Scions myself. Should our primal fears prove substantiated, then I pray your efforts meet with success. Yeah. Sadie's doing well, by the way. Sadie had a very, very good day. She was so happy today. Although I was feeling very ill today and didn't get up until very, very late. Sadie had an awesome day because her cousin was here. I call it her cousin. My brother's dogs were here because my brother was helping build some stuff in the backyard. And my brother has a poodle mix that Sadie just loves. Like, the two of them will literally play non-stop for the entire day. And that's exactly what they did. They ran around the house, they ran up and down the stairs, they were wrestling and slamming into each other and just having a great old time. And they played the entire fucking day. So Sadie has been just sleeping all day. And is sleeping right now because she's in a healing coma from using so much energy. So I would say she's doing quite well. How many of the extreme mounts do I have so far? I have 2 of them. Is the black... No, Black Pegasus is not one of them, right? No. Okay, Alex is gonna help me just punch old Freet in the face real fast. Oh, Lithanar did kill her. Okay, well, there you go. Freet's got such a fun design. How did Ricard die? We have no idea. Games Workshop kinda forgot. They kinda forgot he existed. Oh, I got a free card? Ooh. That's nice. Unfortunately, I didn't get his little whistle, but that's fine. We can deal with that later. If Freet was reborn with the strength of 1,000 raging infernos, and yet you vanquished him, I can offer you naught but praise, bringer of light. Ever prepared for confrontation? Good. Those instincts serve us as well as they serve you. What meaning hides within this constant pursuit of ever greater strength? Have you paused to dwell on its significance? However you might choose to justify your actions, it seems you have tested the very limits of these 3 primal avatars. Again, such furious response. Did we not make ourselves clear? As amusing as such might prove, we did not come to trade blows with you. This meeting is at an end. We must thank you for a most enlightening display. We have learned much. The destiny we seek draws closer, ever closer. How much longer can you stem the tide of darkness, bringer of light? How well will you fare against the next god to reawaken? So the Infernal Primal had returned after all. It's well that you set out prepared for the worst. Come now, Dalkarius. You must describe your epic encounter in detail that we might revise our tactics for future engagements. Any information could prove useful. Well, now this is an ominous relic. While the Amalja are known for their barbaric trinkets, I sense something is different about this one. I see, so it is the 3rd subject you have discovered within the domain of a primal. Certainly seems feasible that it played a role in Ifrit's enhanced volatility. Return with your trophy to the Waking Sands, and pray bid Urian J to continue his investigations. Our eternal gratitude to you both. The report from the immortal flame hath flown before thee. Dost thou return once more to bring a curious tool of ritual magics? Ah yes, it doth most closely resemble the others in form, and I dare say in function. Bone is of course a Malja in origin. The servants of darkness revealed themselves to thee. I am put in mind of Archon Louisoix's words. Yet ever shall primal desires burn, for burn they shall, with the Ascians ever toiling to stroke the fires. We are fortunate. Their careless taunting hath provided us with certainty, where before there existed only conjecture. It is unfortunate, however, that thy actions serve the Ascians' purposes so well. Whenever thou slayest our primal foes, the beastmen seek to raise their ever more ferocious gods, and now it seems their ceaseless ambitions are answered only by living sacrifice. Each ritual object thou didst recover is a manner of focus, a tool fashioned from the bones of a willing worshipper. These foci contained in the vast etheric power generated by the fervent prayers of a beastman zealot in the moment of his death. This power was then poured into each primal during the rite of summoning, thus giving rise to an augmented avatar thou didst engage. To free us from the threat of the primals in truth, we must needs discover and escape from the endlessly escalating cycle of conflict. Such an answer will not, I fear, be readily attainable. So, as long as the understanding eludes us, there is no recourse but to continue with the slaying of primals. The ether they invariably hoard must be released back into the land. As the beastman deities wax ever more potent, it is a sad necessity that the nurturing of thine own strength cannot be ignored, an action that thou must take, even though it doth quicken the plans of the paragons. One of the paths to inexorable might hath ever been the pursuit of sturdy arms and armor, and in that endeavor I may be able to assist thee. Is there anything ogres won't eat? No, not really. They'll give anything a try. If thou art to weather these constant clashes against ever more potent primals, then thou must perforce arm thyself with extraordinary weapons. I have concluded negotiations with one Rowena, a merchant who doth reside in a Revenant's Toll. In exchange for the ritual objects thou hast collected, she hath promised to provide thee with a selection from her stock of unique armaments. Why wouldst she consent to purchase these unsavory trophies? It is a simple question of infamy. Certain of her clientele are like to salivate at the very thought of possessing such forbidden items. There are very few who I can lay claim to the ownership of a ritual employed in the summoning of a primal. There is no case for alarum. Any power the objects once held has long since been surrendered to the summoned deities. Unless thou worry on my account, I have gleaned from them what wisdom we require. I return thee thy hard-won prizes. Hie thee to Revenant Soul Mordona and see them swiftly into Rowena's hands. That's kind of interesting. Where does this quest go? This quest just kind of like keeps wandering onwards. I mean, I'm probably not going to buy any of these from you. Greetings, adventurer. So you're the one who's what hopes to trade some primal curiosities, are you? Riange's guaranteed their authenticity, so why don't you let old Rowena here have a look at those ritual objects of yours? Carved from beastman bones, just like he described. Well, I'd be lying if I said these trinkets didn't make my skin crawl like a dynamite in my undergarments. In case you misunderstand, that's an expression of high praise, lad. My customers will be gutting each other in the streets for a chance to purchase your trophies. Show them to Lorena, my acquisitions officer, and she'll walk you through the transaction. Who? Yeah, it's no gear quest. Like, you know, I'm not gonna buy anything, but you know, maybe this will prove helpful. Oh, this chick, you know. God damn you, Rowena! You promised me a life of excitement in the exotic land of Mordona. Here I am stocking your shelves like a trained upper. May I help you, sir? Ugh! What in the seven unholy hells are those gruesome things? Beastman ritual tools. You adventurers and your penchant for stowing the most disgusting souvenirs in your packs. Blech! That goes twice for Rowena for wanting to stock the stuff, and thrice for adult customers for begging to buy it. That's neither here nor there. Whatever it is that drives you folk also fills my purse with coin. Now, are you seeking to trade or for odd particular? Ah, the special weapons we deal in, is it? Here, take a few of these tokens and you'll be able to exchange them for any arms you fancy. If you're one of those completionist types, then you'll no doubt want an entire armory of the things. Just bring me another set of those stomach-churning ritual tools and I'll see you rewarded with more tokens. Let's hop to it. Neat. Okay, good. We finished that little random-ass thing. I'm sure Urianger will have more shit for us later, but for right now, back to the main story quest. Is there ogre? There are things that can kill ogres. Like, there are things ogres can eat that will kill them. Certain kinds of plants and mixtures and all sorts of other nonsense. They're just rare. Raleigh is headed in the direction of the Blue Badger Gate. With me, Scion. So, Raleigh has entered the Carline Canopy, meeting someone perchance? Or could it be she means to board an airship? Pray look for her within. If she's not on the upper floor, try the landing area below. One of mine is stationed there, and she may have seen something. Ephemy is her name. I shall remain here in case Raleigh reappears. Darkaius Thracia, such an unexpected pleasure. What brings you here? Ahem, a social visit, you say? How pleasant. No, she didn't come this way. I've noted every passenger, none bore any resemblance. Well, don't let me keep you. Did she fucking vanish? Nowhere to be seen, you say? And are you sure she did not board an airship? She didn't come back out either. Where in the seven hells could she have gone? The Roost, how could I forget? Greetings, good sir. Might I interest you in some Muntoy tonic? A cup a day imbues a man with great vigor, if you take my meaning. Heh. Perhaps another time, friend. Wait. That necklace. You are a shinobi of Doma. The woman you seek has left Gridania by a way of West Shore Pier. She was attired as a merchant, but these eyes are not so easily deceived. You may wish to take your search to the East Shroud. Rest assured that we shall continue to support you from the shadows. Nice. Thank the 12 for the Domans. Were it not for their unique talents, Raleigh would have disappeared without a trace. A hunt leads us to the East Shroud, Scion. I suggest we follow Raleigh's example and take the ferry from West Shore Pier. We'll doubtless wish to make certain preparations. See to them while I go on ahead. Also, wait for you at Sweet Bloom Pier. Isn't there an ogre that doesn't like eating greenskins because they taste like veggies? Not that I can recall, but that doesn't mean that didn't happen. I just don't recall it. I mean, there have been greenskins that like don't enjoy like going to Athel-Loren because they fight against forest spirits, and forest spirits aren't good eating. They're literally just a bunch of sticks. And ogres are not big on the vegetarian thing. Ogres like meat. Meat is their go-to. There is a lot of ogres, a fair number of them really dislike fighting demons. They don't like fighting demons because demons don't tend to leave behind physical matter. Sometimes they do, but very, very rarely. This way, my friends. Yukiri! Love you, Geary. Your quarry makes for the Hawthorn Hut. If Roali is truly the one we seek, we can expect that she means to make contact with her Garlean masters there. An explanation is in order. You are no doubt aware that the Garleans have their own method of communicating over great distances. Well, our ingenious friends at Garland Ironworks have provided us with devices which disrupt these communications, and we have them installed around the city-states. Doing so, we've made it difficult for Imperial agents to correspond with their masters. Roali would thus have no choice but to rendezvous with her Imperial contact directly. Yet, as a well-known face in the Immortal Flame, she cannot move about Thanalan without being recognized. It would only be a matter of time before someone saw through her disguise. Just for this reason, I believe that she has chosen the Black Shroud for her clandestine meeting. The Elysian are a common sight here, and her comings and goings are not likely to turn any heads. As my scouts tell it, the Garleans have sent agents with a mind to destroy the devices and render them such direct contact unnecessary. Fortunately, our shinobi have thus far been successful in rebuffing their efforts. This is it. We need only make for Hawthorne's hut and catch Roali in the act. I want to see her face! My people report that our quarry has departed for the Bramble Patch. The Ivy returns to the Gnarls when she came, but perhaps it is all for the better. To convict someone of her standing will require damning evidence against her. What could be better than to catch her in the act when she meets with her Garlean masters? My countrymen and I shall lie in wait in the shadows. Tread warily, my friends. Just beyond, Roali is in a conversation with an individual clad in the manner of an individual. An Imperial intermediary, no doubt. This is it! With me! Flame Marshal Eleni Roali. No, Eileen Roali. You're under arrest for treason and espionage. You were followed, you bloody fool. Damnation! Nice. Good timing, Ninja Bros. You are unarmed, my lady, and scarcely guarded for battle. But if you wish to fight, you are welcome to try. What is the meaning of this, Captain? Would you arrest me for strolling in the Twelveswood? When last I looked, that was no crime, and neither was conversing with passing strangers. You would feign ignorance, then? Very well. If you do think of something to say, there will be plenty of time to say it later. Now come quietly, or I shall make you wish you had. I will offer you no struggle. After all, I have naught to hide. You need to keep that other dude alive. That other dude's probably gonna get got. The plot thickens. What is Scragg's story? The TLDR, he was a very accomplished slaughtermaster for a particular ogre tribe. He fucked up one day when he accidentally cooked the tyrant's favorite Noblar and served it to him, which made that tyrant very upset. So that tyrant ate off both of Scragg's hands and basically banished him. So they sealed him in the tunnels below the Mountains of Morn, below their tribe, where all the Gorgers hang out, and Scragg was basically stuck down there without hands, and he had all of his butchery stuff, like, chained and, like, put into his flesh, like, hooked into his skin, so he'd have to drag his pot around as punishment. And as he was down there just being like, ah! Scragg decided he wasn't gonna die, so he took his 2 big chef knives, and he took his teeth and he forced them into the stumps of his arms, what was left, stumps where his hands used to be, so that he had, little chop blades, and he dragged himself around the tunnels, hearing the Maw call out to him as he kind of went insane. And then he got attacked by a bunch of Gorgers all at once, and he, like, turned into a whirlwind of blades and killed a bunch of them. And then he got attacked by a really, really big Gorger, and Scragg fought him and tore its throat out with his teeth. And all the other Gorgers were like, oh shit! So they started kind of like worshipping Scragg as sort of the king of the Gorgers. And Scragg was like, Scragg basically managed to lead them out of the tunnels as he heard the Great Maw calling to him, and the Great Maw led him back to his old tribe, so he came up underneath his old tribe and attacked them with all the Gorgers, and he basically cooked and ate all of his old tribe. Ah, I hate how many people can't trade. It makes me mad. Even a warrior Raleigh's renown could not have hoped to escape by force. Despite her claims, her surrender does not bespeak innocence, but an awareness that her position is untenable. With the ivy thus uprooted, it is hoped that the tendrils she entwined around the immortal flames will gradually wither and die. Mayhap, then, the people of Ul'dah will have the grand company they deserve. Let us speak of the present. If I may ask, what will you do now, Dalcarius? So the Scions seek a way into Iceheart's sanctum. Then I dare say you are eager to return to the Rising Stones. Pray do not let me keep you. Fear not, my countrymen and I shall tend to the aftermath. You do not need to waste your talents here. And speaking of talents, have you considered training in the art of the shinobi? You have the aptitude for it, I believe, so please give it some thought. Till next time, my friend. Welcome back, Dalcarius. I understand that Alphino had a task for you. May I ask what it was? Charges of treason and espionage against Eleni Roali. I could scarce believe it. Could there not have been some manner of misunderstanding? No, it avails us not to dwell on it. Whatever the truth may be, we must trust to the authorities to uncover it. Let us speak of another matter. I am pleased to report that we have made progress in our efforts to find a way into Iceheart's sanctum. As you may recall, Iceheart used the Aetheryte at the depth of Snowcloak to teleport a short distance to the west, most likely to a sanctuary of some description. It is there that we suspect she means to summon Shiva, using the crystals she stole from House Forton's caravan. The heretics believe they are bringing about the second coming of their patron saint. But if, as we suspect, they mean to hold a summoning ritual of the kind employed by the beast tribes, it seems likely that the result will be something more akin to a primal. Suffice it to say, they must be stopped, and stop them we shall. But first, we must surmount the obstacle that Iceheart has placed in our path. Ordinarily, it would be a simple matter to tap into the established Ethernet and thereby follow our quarry. However, despite our best efforts, we have been unable to ascertain the position of the Aetherite to which she teleported. Our prevailing theory is that she destroyed the second Aetherite upon arrival. A reckless, desperate measure, but also an effective one. After discussing the matter at length with Urianger, we have concluded that we lack the expertise to develop a solution, which is why we have called upon the aid of one who does possess such expertise. A colleague of ours who is currently en route to Revenant's Toll from Charlian. She should be arriving within the hour, in fact. Since you are here, mayhap we could welcome her together. I'm certain she would appreciate the gesture. Let us make our way to the northern gates and await her coming. You got it, boss. So we got a Makote and somebody. Wow, that woman has...
Am I right?
Oh, voice acted. Wow, she has a hard case of resting bitch face.
None other. I bid you welcome to Revenant's Toll, and to thank you for traveling so far on such short notice.
How much money to play this game? It's free!
As if I could ever say no to Urianger.
Moonbreeder is an accomplished Charlian scholar and an authority on Aetherite technologies.
Moonbreeder.
She has played an invaluable role in our search for a means to capture Arcean souls.
Charmed, I'm sure.
Let's return to the Rising Stones at once, then. We have much to discuss. Well, why'd you make me come out now? Okay, Menphelia delights in wasting my time however she can. But yeah, you can play a significant amount of the game for free. And just try it out and have fun with it. And if you like it, great. Then you can look into maybe buying certain parts of it. But you can play just a stupid amount of it for free. Why are Crushers so awesome? Because they were too awesome for tabletop. So that's how you know they're truly awesome. Is the Tupsimati on the wall back there? Oh, is that Tupsimati on the wall back there? I'm amazed you managed to find all the pieces after, well, you know, after he just blew the fuck up, you know.
Moon! Gods, it's been ages!
Okay, they know her. Alright.
Oh, longer, sister.
Wait, like actual sister? Or like...
Joyous reunion indeed.
If so, that's kind of
Of
hilarious.
course it is. Moon and I are like twin sisters.
save in appearance and aptitude.
Probably such a dick.
Everyone, if I could have your attention.
Sister and work, yeah, I figured.
We have with us an esteemed guest who has come from Sharlayan to assist us. I bid Moonbreeder join us here that she might share with us her extensive knowledge of Aetherites.
Her thighs are
Also,
fucking huge.
as many of you are already aware, she has been overseeing our research into white auracite, a sample of which she has been good enough to bring with her.
Well, I had to come, didn't I? You'd have to be bloody daft to turn your nose up at a chance like this. Where better to conduct my final tests than a land so steeped in ether you can taste it?
'Tis plain the passage of the years hath done little to dampen thy youthful spirits.
College fraternity kind of sister? Sorority?
And nothing at all to reform thy youthful manner.
Wow, Urianger coming in throwing daggers.
Oriange, where in the hells have you been hiding?
Unhand me.
Unhand me. Put me down, woman.
I come all this way, and that's what you have to say to me. I much preferred when you were pleading with me to drop everything and hurry to your side. What was it you said? None save thee can satisfy this need.
He said that?
Go on.
Damn. Damn. Dude, Urianger is about to fucking...
Thine artless attempts to misrepresent mine all too innocent motives do thee little credit. Mine intent, as well thou knowest, was but to impress upon thee the gravity of the circumstance. Lest thou doubt, a deiform entity shall shortly be summoned, save if thou and no other grantest my compeers thine aid.
You still haven't found it then, your missing Aetherite?
We have not. No. We know that Iceheart teleported to an Aetherite not far from the first. Yet even after careful analysis, we could not locate the second beacon. We now suspect that the heretics destroyed the second Aetherite to impede our pursuit. Our allies continue to scour Snowcloak for Iceheart's sanctuary, but we have no guarantee that they will find it. Yet it must be found, for even now Iceheart prepares to call upon Saint Shiva.
I'm sorry, but if the Aetherite's been destroyed, then that's that. Although, you're absolutely sure she used the first Aetherite, are you? She didn't just use teleportation magics?
One of our own bore witness to her escape. I can say with absolute certainty that Iceheart used the Aetherite.
In that case, there might be a way, so long as the ethereal current is still flowing.
Truly? How?
We use the current to recreate the beacon. As you know, Aetherites are a bit like lighthouses. We use them to reconstitute our physical forms when crossing the ethereal sea. Without them, we'd lose all sense of direction and our essence would dissipate.
That's moderately terrifying.
However, we don't rely solely on these beacons. There are currents of ether which flow between them, currents which help guide us to our destination. Now, these currents will gradually dwindle away to nothing if an Aetherite is destroyed. But if even a sluggish flow remains, we could theoretically use it to direct a surge of concentrated ether towards the void left by the beacon, and thereby fill it up again.
Makes sense?
Like opening the floodgates to fill a dry riverbed. Though, correct me if I'm wrong, but would we not need a veritable reservoir of ether?
In concert, we might manage to channel a sufficient volume, yet that is not my chief concern. To direct the flow of so great a volume of ether with the requisite precision would be a nigh impossible task in itself.
I barely succeeded in facilitating travel to an unattuned beacon. That which you describe sounds considerably more difficult. And dangerous. Every person who has attempted to teleport in this fashion has died in the process. They, however, did not have wide aura sight at their disposal.
Okay, what's this MacGuffin you got?
I can use it to channel all the ether you can give me into the etherite. However, white aura sight cannot retain ether for an extended period of time, so we would need to infuse it immediately beforehand. Just so you know, I'd confidently give this plan better than even odds of success. And if the worst comes to worst, your people won't suffer.
Tyler, if you do get into it, though, let me know so I can get you like a code
best
thingy.
and brightest. We have not the time to seek other options. If the ethereal current still flows, we shall carry out Moonbreeder's plan.
That's the spirit. Let's roll the dice.
God, I wish I had gotten into Final Fantasy. I think it was like a year or two ago when they were like, they were giving so much free money away to streamers to promote the game, to just like try it and play it. I deeply, deeply regret not getting on that wave. Was the bad news the Nova? Was the bad news the Nova show? No. No, that was a pretty bad show. That's funny. No, that's not what it was. It's funny though. I've already informed Alphino of our plan to recreate the beacon in the manner Moonbreeder described. He agreed that despite the inherent danger, it represents our only hope of success. He also said he wished to meet with you at Snowcloak before proceeding. I expect you will find him waiting for you there when you arrive. I want you to know that I appreciate everything you have done on our behalf, Dalkarius. I have faith you will turn to us, as you always have. You got it, boss. Though it'd be a little funny if I didn't, but I will, but it'd be a little funny if I did. Ignoring the WoW regrets. Yeah, WoW's doing really well right now. So yeah, I guess that really was what was going on. Was that WoW was like really having some ugly shockwaves from the wrap up of from the ending of the whatever the death one was. Not the last expansion, but the one before that. And that caused like a mass migration of players, which was I think the really, really big thing that was going on at the time. Good to see you, Dalkarius. I was starting to wonder if you were having second thoughts. Captain Ilberd sends his regards, by the way. He attends to the interrogation of Aline Rolial in Ul'dah even as we speak. But I shall not distract you from the matter at hand. We can discuss the Ivy upon your return. I trust that, by which to mean I say, the others are waiting for us at the Aetherite. After you, Scion. Yeah, Endwalker, that's what it was. Yeah, Endwalker. It was a whole fucking thing. Or whatever. Alright, the crew's all here. Shadowlands! Yes, thank you, Shadowlands. The ending of Shadowlands was a whole fucking thing. I've heard good things about the current expansion. WoW fans seem to be having a really good time with the current one, so that's good. There! It's ready! Tap me in, coach! Ha! It worked, I think. Try attuning to the aetherite now. Feel for the current to try to locate the beacon. Pretty sure this is just going to take me to a trial, but alright. Just get, like, ripped in half. We have done all we can, Dalkarius. For now, let us withdraw. When your final preparations are complete, you must seek out the beacon we have created. If, by the grace of the 12, you arrive safely, you must stop Iceheart before she summons Shiva. We cannot ignore the possibility that our actions have alerted Iceheart to our plans. Should that be the case, she may attempt to hasten the completion of the summoning ritual. And if she succeeds, you have little choice but to face Shiva in battle. Knowing little of this saint, I cannot say if your own strength will suffice, and so I would encourage you to call upon your allies. Some may have reservations about wagering their lives on the success of Moonbreeda's experiment, but others will surely agree that desperate times call for desperate measures. Ah, before you assemble your party, pray speak with that knight. I believe he has a message for you from Sir Imeric. Sir Imeric regrets that you could not be here in person, and asks that I read you this letter. Ahem. Ishgard faces an unprecedented threat, yet in our hour of need, it is not her knights who stand poised to defend her. Dalkarius Adracia, the warrior of light, savior of Eorzea, your deeds this day shall not be forgotten. Where others would flee, you choose to remain. Where others would falter, you rise to the challenge. Where others would use their gifts for selfish ends, you wield yours in service to a greater cause. May Halone bless you with good fortune, and see you safely home. The Ak-Afa Amphitheater. Alright. We'll give anyone else a second that wants to join up for the Shiva fight. For as long as their nation is warred with Dravanya, there have been Ishgardians who instead chose to ally themselves with the dragon. Shiva is said to have been among the first, hence why the heretics revere her as a saint. That Iceheart and her followers intend to summon Shiva with the crystals they have stolen is plain, but this is unprecedented act even possible. If so, then Ishgard, if not the entire realm, is in grave danger. I will say, the Shiva thing is fun to me, because it very much is like, wow, this is so unprecedented, no one's ever done anything like this before. But then, if you've done the dungeon revolving around Bahamut, you'll know that this is not unprecedented, and you know exactly what they're trying to do. I think we've got everyone that can do it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get us. I'm gonna make sure that. Oh no! I do not want to do that. Unrestricted. Two DPS and a tank. Yeah, Shadowlands was so sad for a while because I feel like with some, I feel like they could have kept the overall story, but if they had made a number of like minor but consistent adjustments, they could have made a good story out of it. But man, they fumbled that bag really hard. How similar is Final Fantasy XIV to WoW? It's not. it's barely at all. They're both technically MMOs, but they're very, very different styles of MMOs. Yeah, the Shadowlands' biggest flaw was that it used nostalgia bait. And nostalgia bait just never... Like, it is so hard to use nostalgia bait and not fuck it up. Like, it is brutally difficult not to fuck that up. Because if you fuck it up, you end up retconning a bunch of stuff that causes... It just breaks the entire setting. I mean, basically the way that WoW has fixed it is by just immediately ignoring it and just focusing on other things and just, like, completely ignoring it. Like, it seems like pretty much the only good storyline that managed to come out was, like, the Ysera storyline. Ended up pretty okay. Because they did some pretty good stuff with that in the Dragon expansion. Yeah, WoW, in my experience, WoW is more like a multiplayer experience that has a story to it, but it's more about the community and the gameplay. Whereas Final Fantasy XIV to me is very unique because it's more about the story than anything else. Like, it's not nearly as much about, like, the mechanics or any of that. It's really and truly focused on the story. It's an RPG first and an MMO second. Whereas the vast majority of MMO games are MMOs first and RPGs second. You know, it's like one of the major criticisms of WoW right now, which is very accurate, is that if you want to be really caught up on a lot of WoW lore, you have to read books. Like, you have to go out and buy actual books and read them. Because the information in those books will not be communicated in-game. It just won't. It's not in the game. Which is not good. that is not good. You should not have to get third-party materials in order to understand what the fuck is going on. Oh no, I don't even mean the big books. I mean, like, the little novels. Like, you have to, if you don't get the little novels they release from time to time, you will legit not understand what's going on sometimes. I'm not talking about, like, the big, like, oh, here's the history of the Warcraft universe books. I'm just talking about the little novels they release, like, once every couple months. This is taking a little bit of time. Well, I might as well go do other stuff while I'm waiting for this to trigger. Oh, okay, so I finished Urianje's little storyline. Oh, that's nice. So if I wanna farm all of the horses, I can do that now. I actually finally cleared out. Look how nice and clean my quest log is. This is probably... Am I allowed to switch my career while I'm waiting for this to trigger, or will I get in trouble? Oh, that's true. Urianger is probably going to be like, hey, dumbass, you have to go activate Extreme Shiva. What are you doing? Okay, yeah, you can just switch back when the queue pops. Cool. Neat. We'll go do some summoning, or summoner shit. Yeah, I actually can... I don't actually need to have leather worker. Or... I fucking knew that was gonna happen. I was like, the second I'm like, oh, well, I can go do some other stuff for a minute, it was gonna trigger. Like, the second I committed to being like, oh, I can go do something else, it would immediately go off. Like, it's just the way the universe works, man. Shiva! There's that white-haired bitch.
You should never have come here, warrior of light. I labor only to forge a lasting peace.
Ooh, I like the music. I like the music.
A peace you would deny us out of ignorance and blind faith.
Also like when the bosses have voice acting.
No matter. If it is our fate to be at odds, then it is mine to strike you down. We whom gods and men have forsaken shall be the instruments of our own deliverance. Partake of my flesh. Fill this vessel with your light. Walk amongst your brothers and sisters once more.
Oh, fuck, she's...
Oh, Saint Shiva, still the hatred within our hearts and bless us with eternal grace.
Holy shit, she sacrificed herself. Nice design. She reminds me a lot of Jaina. Oh boy. Those who have taken up the sword shall perish by the sword. Her brothers? What are you summoning, lady? Oh! Big ol' ice boys. Ow! I walked into it. I was not paying attention to my health. We got like a anime opening. Oh, it spit her back out. That's interesting. I thought I was just gonna fucking kill her. Wow. That was fun. I was gonna say, how the fuck is she not dead? I assume she's about to die, but like, holy shit. That is one tough bitch.
Fool. Blind, bloody fool. You, of all people, should understand the suffering war begets. That no sacrifice is too great if it brings an end to the violence. Mine is the righteous cause. You fight in a war you do not understand. A pawn of liars and schemers.
You could...
And they are no less ignorant than you. Following the creed of their fathers without question, never thinking to ask why. Trapped in a delusion of their own creation, and blind to the truth. Warrior of light, redemption is not beyond us. We who walk before may lead those who walk after. Seek the keeper of the lake. See with eyes unclouded. Do not squander Mother's gift.
Now she's dead. I think. There's one thing I really enjoy about the storyline, especially whenever you're dealing with primals. Oh, fuck. Hold on. Got this bitch.
And so the vessel withdraws. A predictable outcome. Nevertheless, La Habrea will be pleased. How unfortunate.
Anyway, what I was going to say is that one of the things I really enjoy about the storyline regarding whenever you're fighting primal type situations or these little bosses in particular is that the conversations will always leave you with that very unsettling feeling of like, I'm not 100% sure we're making the right decisions. Like, we may be, I'm not convinced 100% that we're the good guys, and that is profoundly discomforting. You know, the fact that she's literally like throwing the words of the mother crystal like in your face, and you're sitting there being like, oh, I don't like that, stop doing that, I don't like that, you're not supposed to do that. Whose side are we on? By the 12, you're alive. I mean, of course you're alive. Why wouldn't you be? Iceheart did what? And you're certain about that, are you? Dravanians are skilled with glamours, after all. Look, if you say that's what you saw, I believe you. It's just I've never heard of a primal being summoned like that before. Are you sure you're not injured? Head trauma has been known to cause hallucinations, you see. No? Fair enough, I was only asking. If you ask me, there's not to be gain from mulling over the implications of your story in the freezing cold. Let's save for the Rising Stones, eh? I'll get everyone to meet us there. But before that, you'd best pay a visit to Whitebrim Front and speak with Alphino. He's probably worried sick about you. Woman, you cannot complain about the cold when you're, like, coochie out in this, like, freezing-ass weather. You cannot... No. No. That, or he's busy playing at politics with the Ishgardians. Either way, I'm sure he'll be delighted to see you hale and healthy. Speaking of which, you don't have a headache or anything, do you? No? Blurred vision? Oh, no reason. See you again soon. She's like, I don't believe a single fucking thing you said. Actually, now that I think about it, what's super weird is, unlike all of the other primal fights, our echo triggered when we went in there, because we got the headache thing when we started, like, getting ready to confront her. Which means that Iceheart also probably has the ability to echo. Because Iceheart wasn't tempered. She was just kind of... Which is weird, because that's also opening up the whole thing of, like, someone who has the echo willingly offering themselves to a primal, the equivalent of a primal, for a transformation. And the fact that she speaks to the Mother Crystal, which means she can hear the Mother Crystal, which means she has the power of the echo, which opens up a whole nother can of worms. There he is, and none the worse for wear. Was there any doubt that the Warrior of Light would succeed? I think I speak for us all when I say that I should like nothing more than to hear the stirring tale of your victory, if you would be so kind. Yeah, I don't know about stirring tale of victory, but whatever. Then we were too late to prevent the summoning. But not too late to prevent further loss of life, an outcome worthy of celebration, and one for which we have Darkarius to thank. Yes, you're right, of course, Sir Aymeric. We should be content with what we have accomplished. Yeah, Alphino, I don't think we have prevented a single fucking summoning this, like, entire campaign. I feel like we shouldn't even aim for that, because we never make it. We never make that. I, for one, could not wish for a better outcome. Shiva is no longer a threat, and the heretics have been routed. Aye, there is the matter of Iceheart's escape, but she cannot run forever. Okay, so Iceheart did get away? Whether it takes days, weeks, moons, or even years, my knights will find her. In the meantime, Lord Dromont, is the caravan ready? The supplies that your men recovered have been prepared for transport in accordance with your wishes. Rest assured that my knights will see them safely to Revenant's Toll. Of that I have no doubt. I take it these are the selfsame supplies the heretics stole from the House Forton's caravan. Lest the crystals which comprised the bulk of the shipment, yes. Scarcely a fraction of that which was promised, but a meaningful contribution to your cause all the same. On an unrelated note, Dalkarius, might I trouble you to accompany me to Camp Dragonhead at your earliest convenience? 'Tis not for my benefit. A certain lord was most distressed when he learned of your intent to risk life and limb to start Iceheart. It took half a dozen knights to restrain him, I am told. The shrug. Men give vent to their anxieties in myriad ways. Pray do not think less of him. Yeah, the good old elf lord that clearly has the hots for us. Yeah, I feel like my character should make like a swear jar for Alphino, but instead of for swearing, it's for every time he thinks we're gonna prevent a summoning instead of just, you know, dealing with it afterwards. Of like, nope, we never prevent them. That's 5 kill. Put it in the jar. Put it in the jar. Hashenfol. What were you thinking, Dalkarius? Wagering your very being on a dubious theory which might allow you to enter Iceheart's lair, knowing full well that she could have sufficient forewarning to complete her ritual to summon Shiva anyway. And then, engaging the abomination in mortal combat. By the fury, Dalkarius, 'tis the stuff of ballads, a battle for the ages, with that I had been there to fight by your side. Yet here I was forced to wait, condemned to wonder at the fate of a dear friend for veritable eternity. I would not wish such torture on my most hated enemy. Yeah, friend. But you are here now, and that is what truly matters. Let us move on. Sir Emmerich wishes to have words with you, Master Alphino, in private. He awaits us in the intercessory. Politics, politics, politics. Greetings, sir. I shall show you in at once. Tyler, have a good night.
On behalf of the Holy See of Ishgard, allow me to express my deepest thanks.
Yeah, how about y'all actually fucking do something for once?
Never before have we been required to contend with a primal. Indeed, there were fears in some quarters that our knights might not be equal to the task. From what we have now learned of these beings, I can say with certainty that we would have lost a great many men had the Scions not intervened.
Then the argument for preemptive action should be self-evident. Perchance now you will reconsider my proposal that Ishgard move against Natalan.
Ere we first met, a similar proposal was tabled, but the Holy See decreed that we were to observe, and that military action should be taken only in self-defense. All things considered, it was not an unreasonable decision. Since the calamity, 2 vigils have fallen to the Horde, while Garuda has never shown any inclination to storm the gates of judgment. Which is why this unprecedented crisis and its resolution may prompt a change in policy.
Alphino is about to jump across that table.
You who have faced these primals know well the threat they pose. Ishgard did not. Not until now. And there is naught like a brush with death to change a man's outlook.
He was about to jump across that table.
At the very least, this should silence any lingering objections to our arrangement with Revenant's Toll. The Holy See may even feel moved to grant us its formal endorsement.
So far as it is possible, the Scions shall be compensated for their service.
We should be grateful for any aid you can provide.
As a gesture of good faith, I shall withdraw my previous request. Your people are doubtless needed elsewhere.
That will not be necessary. We too have a vested interest in watching Dravania's movements.
I see. Once more, I must thank you.
Sir Emmerich, if I may, do you truly believe that Midgardsormr could return?
The heavens are a window unto truth, but those who interpret their movements are not infallible. I requested your involvement as a precautionary measure.
But of course, you sought an excuse to compensate us from the first, mindful of what would happen if Revenant's toll were taken by your enemies. Ishgard is not wont to aid its neighbors, but that does not preclude it from manipulating them to serve its own interests.
Choose your next words carefully.
Alright, Jesus.
Do you know what sort of man becomes Lord Commander of the Temple Knights? One who comes from good stock. I did not. Yet here I am. Now, why do you suppose that is? Because I swiftly learned to tell the difference between words, deeds, and beliefs. You are correct, Master Leveilleur. Ishgard desires to see Revenant's toll flourish, as it would present a troublesome obstacle to our enemies from the south.
We are so glad to be of use to you.
Alpha Node, dude, like, dial it down.
As we are to you. Ours is a mutually beneficial arrangement, lest we forget. One born of necessity.
You gotta reel it in a little bit.
The dragons grow more restless by the day, and the heretics harry us nigh without cease. We have contended with such troubles for centuries, but there are limits to even our endurance. Yet as a pauper is loath to part with his meager possessions, the leaders of Ishgard are not wont to render up their trust to outsiders. But with perseverance on our part, they may yet be made to see the light. Nevertheless, one must take care when walking the road less traveled.
Wise words, Sir Emmerich. I shall make a point to remember them. I must apologize for my earlier outburst. I hope it will not sour our good relations.
Not at all. You but spoke from the heart. I trust you understand that at times my duties may prevent me from meeting with you. On such occasions, my second-in-command will speak for me.
Lucia, at your service.
The one that was about to
Pray
just...
excuse our reticence. We are but wary of speaking too freely, lest our sentiments be made known to our enemies. Know that the Lord Commander and I are of one mind. For the sake of Ishgard, and of Eorzea at large, I pray our peoples can put aside their differences.
Okay.
Those who dwell in the past risk losing sight of their future.
Should aught befall one of our shipments, pray inform Lucia immediately. You may also relay to her any words you might have for me alone. Not being of Ishgardian birth, she owes no allegiance to any noble house, making her as near to incorruptible as one can find in my homeland.
Ooh, smart.
Suffice it to say, I trust her completely, and so may you.
Very smart. For a second-in-command.
Which reminds me, Lord Orshafon, if you would be so kind.
Orshinfon.
Certainly.
Look at all those letters they don't use.
In times such as these, trust is ever in short supply. Mayhap this will go some way to rectify the problem.
I do
the
like
results of our investigation into the heretics' recent attacks, as well as our interrogation of the merchant you detained.
I do like Emmerich's armor. He has a very nice set.
Sir Emmerich, I cannot thank you enough.
Think nothing of it. Ishgard may be many things, but it is no friend to Garlemald.
Did I not tell you to have faith, my friend?
I feel like we should tell him about the whole new Emperor thing. It would seem we have much to discuss with our friends at the Rising Stones. If what you say is true, Iceheart's method of summoning Shiva defies all precedent. It necessitates a complete reappraisal of the primal threat and of our approach to combating it. Moreover, there are grave ramifications if word of this incident reaches Imperial ears. The Garlean Empire believes the primals are an insufferable menace, but their mere existence is a threat to this very star. As such, they may deem any action taken against the beast tribes to be justified by default. Imagine, then, if it became known that it was not only the beast tribes of Eorzea that could summon primals, but her civilized peoples as well. Any lingering objections to the Eorzean campaign would vanish overnight, where before we had to contend with a single Imperial Legion, we could well find ourselves facing the combined might of all Garlemald. But I speak unadvisedly. Come, Dakarius, it is better that we continue this conversation in Mordona. As you wish. Everybody move spots. I do not fault Sir Emmerich for being less than forthcoming with his beliefs, not even the Highborn are beyond the reach of the Inquisition. True, young leaders can be more amenable to new ideas, then again, their lack of experience and influence can hinder their ability to enact reforms. Ain't that the truth? There's little fortune and far less fame in being a receptionist, but one must be realistic. Also, it seemed I was grossly misinformed regarding the average earnings of a street performer. That's why she was juggling earlier. Forgive me, Dalkarius. I thought I prepared enough meals for everyone, but the others were most hungry. Fine, don't feed me. It's not like I fucking pick up all y'all's shit all the time. Our stocks of wine have nearly run dry. That Charlian scholar is drinking us out of house and home. Calm yourself, Coltino. It's just a little ship after practice. Clears out the cobwebs no end. A sip before practice, a sip after practice, and all too often a sip during practice. I do believe Moonbrida is having quite the bad influence on you. Trying to tumble the table now, are we? Don't give up yet, boy. Yida, light him up. She is a very big alcoholic. Hey, I'm just gonna say you're all right. What you two do is your own business. Don't say I didn't warn you. Yeah, okay. She is turning all of our allies into raving alcoholics, but, you know, needs must, I guess. Are there demons, any named demons of Undivided similar to Vashtor? Yes. You don't, they're not terribly important to the overall story, but there are many, 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 many demons running around who do not owe any sort of affiliation to the primary powers. You could argue that a lot of the, like, minor gods and spirits that are running around that are still very powerful, but are out there causing a fuss. The closest thing to Vashtor, though, would be Hashut.
Words cannot well express how glad I am to see you return to us hale and whole. Needless to say, I am most eager to hear your account of that which occurred in Kirthis, assuming you're ready to speak of it. Excellent. I shall summon the others at once. Iceheart used her own body as a vessel for a primal soul?
Master Louisoir's writings make no mention of such a possibility. Can we be certain this entity was a primal?
Phoenix!
As certain as we can be that good King Mogulmog the 12th was a primal, I should think. Both were ostensibly summoned.
Let's not quibble over definitions. Of more concern is the implication that Iceheart retained her will, even after she was possessed. We are talking about a mortal, wielding the power of a primal.
It can't possibly be that easy, can it? There must be some sort of sacrifice required. Or maybe she's just special?
What qualities this woman possesseth, I know not, but full sure am I that she was groomed for this role. Few are privy to the secrets of summoning, and but a single party standeth to profit from their dissemination.
Well, I wouldn't presume to comment on how the lass came to know about summoning, but I will say that what she summoned was a primal. The readings were the same, or near as damn it. Strange as it all sounds, it's really no different from what you've faced before.
Then mayhap it is time that we re-examined our previous encounters.
Pack your things, Ida. We're going back to Gridania.
Yes, sir.
About Iceheart's final words to you. Hear, feel, think.
Yeah, that's what Mom says.
Hydaelyn speaks to her as well. If Iceheart is blessed with the power of the Echo, she will doubtless have used it to further her goals.
Bugman, thank you for the 34 months!
Could it be that it was a revelation granted her by the Echo which first set her on this path? She did say that the Ishgardians were blind to the truth. Do you think she has knowledge of the origins of the Ishgardian-Dravanian War? It would do much to explain her unwavering conviction.
Did not the Lady Iceheart implore thee to seek the Keeper of the Lake? And did she not imply that in so doing thou wouldst come to see with eyes unclouded?
Midgard-Zoma was a king amongst kings who reigned for centuries on end. But he is dead and his wisdom lost to the ages. Unless the Ishgardians' fears are well-founded. It would seem we have yet another reason to stand watch over the Keeper of the Lake. For a mercy, we are well positioned to do so. Iceheart, Shiva, Ascians, and Midgard-Zoma. I shudder to think how they're all connected.
Sounds like we need to visit Midgard-Zormr, who looks like a fucking badass. I mean to scour the annals for knowledge of Midgard-Zormr. Given his great age, I dare say he appears in more than a few... Did you hear that? The commotion outside. Would you see if aught is amiss? Who's making a fuss out here? Dalkarius! Just whether you are on hand. We have a problem. Raleigh has escaped. It happened shortly after the Immortal Flames took her into custody. She had been placed in a dungeon cell ahead of her coming trial, but apparently the accommodation was not to her liking. The turnkey was found slain along with 2 guards. It is plain she received inside help. Citizens report seeing Raleigh quitting the city via the Gate of Nald with a bloodied spear in her hand. She makes for Castrum Meridianum, I am certain of it. With her fate in Eorzea as good as sealed, what recourse has she but to flee to her imperial masters? Even as we speak, Captain Ilbert and the First are hot upon Raleigh's heels. Pray make haste to Camp Bluefog and join the hunt. Got it, boss. No, what's that line? Saya, thank you for the super chat. Honestly, I think you'll be able to clear 2.5 today at this rate, assuming you play another 3-4 hours. No, because I have to get some sleep before Lorebeards. and Lordbeard's is only in 8 hours. So like I'm probably my hope is to finish 2.4 in the call of night. Then we're gonna do Lordbeard's tomorrow, and then probably tomorrow night we're gonna push to end 2.5 and maybe 2.55. Or maybe we'll do 2.5 and then we'll do like summoner leveling tomorrow, and then we'll finish 2.55 on Monday, something like that. Definitely not tonight though. No. No. I have to get at least I need at least a good 5 hours of sleep before Lordbeard's. My thanks for coming, Scion. I've spoken with the soldiers here. They said that Royally walked through the camp not a bell ago. Aye, she walked right through. You did not mishear. We have Raban's decision to keep the matter secret, and to thank for that. Bad for morale, he said. As a result, not a single flame in the garrison made any attempt to detain her, and so here we are. Raleigh must not be allowed to reach Castum Meridianum. Yeah, I think our goal for tonight is to finish 2.4. And then tomorrow, let's do 2.5. And then we can spend Monday, and if we need to, Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever, getting 2.55. My goal is to finish A Realm Reborn. Like, I am not touching my Dark Elf Total War campaign until I finish A Realm Reborn. Like, I am focused. I am moisturized. I am in my lane. This wretch was with Raleigh. He threw himself at us that his mistress might escape. She didn't blink when we cut him down, not even when he started screaming. No loyalty even to her own, the god's damned harpy. With me, Scion, we almost have her. We might have to do like a party day for 2.55. She's got a very different outfit on. We finally found the bitch. Oh, I'm going to. I want Raleigh alive. Kill the rest. I am going to absolutely destroy you nerds. I'll save her for last. Where are the bloody reinforcements? Look sharp then. Yeah, y'all made a terrible enemy the day you killed my little tree friend. You're a healer. You need to die. I used the wrong fucking thing. Alright, you're mine, bitch. Oh, you Geary's here. Nice. I actually really like these little story-based battles. These are always fun. Alright, she's basically dead. I just gotta beat all of her little friends now. There we go. Sorry for my loss. I didn't lose anyone. Thank you, though. Bind her and do it tight. Yes, sir. You know, fuck it up this time. Warranted Crescent, thank you for the 38 months. How you doing, man? Good work, man. Finally got the bitch. She and her imperial cronies pushed us close, but we were better. Behold, a respected officer of the Immortal Flames. People looked up to you as one of the Order's founding members, one of its pillars. It saddens me to see you fallen so low. It's hard to snort. What would you know of low? You, a spoiled little lordling who has never known any want. People such as you take wealth and birth for granted. You think it your God's-given right to rule over others. You know not of our plight, the injustice that we low-bornish guardians must endure. To the noble lords and ladies, we are not people, but resources to be consumed. I did what I had to survive. Stealing, killing, even whoring myself. It is no fault of mine if fools imagine me a paragon when I joined the Flames. To hear you tell it, one would think you were the only person to ever have suffered. In case you have forgotten, Raban himself was born into poverty, as was I. We lived hand to mouth, little more than the shirts on our backs. Hunger was our constant companion. Yet never did we bemoan our lot in life, nor did we begrudge others their fortunes. We accepted the hand that we had been dealt and played it to the best of our ability. Life was a battle, aye, but no matter what fate threw at us, we took it on the chin and came back for more. Everything we have, we fought for. How are we any different, then? 'Tis true that we were both mercenaries of lowly birth. It is true that we both had our fair share of struggles. But whereas I sold my sword, you, Marshal, you sold your comrades. If life has taught me one thing, it is that you never betray your own. I would sooner cut off my own arm than raise a hand against a friend. But enough talk. You will return to Ul'dah to face justice, and the people whose trust you have dragged through the gutter. Get her, Ilberd! Not so much as a hint of remorse. Tis well that this sordid business is finally at an end. A friend's betrayal cuts deeper than steel. We must hope that we have chosen our own allies more wisely than Raban chose his.
I have heard. Truly bothersome business.
Oh, this fucker.
No, I do not foresee a problem on that front. The main concern is Raban. There is no telling what the brute might do. Have the Blades watch him in the flames day and night. You may leave the Sultana to me. I shall personally attend her grace. Sever one of the East Aldenard trade routes. That ought to keep Lolorito occupied for a while. Nanamo Ul'namo. For my sake, pray be a good little Sultana to the last.
Oh, that's not great. Captain Ilbert and I have a few questions for the Flame Marshal regarding the circumstances of her miraculous escape. When we have completed our interrogation, we shall take our findings directly to General Raban. That shall be the end of it. Your work here is done, my friend. My thanks. Ah, but I have one last task for you. Return to the Rising Stones and apprise Benphilia of all that has happened. I am aware that the antecedent held Raleigh in high regard, but better or worse, she will want to know how this tale ends. Standard Lalafell moment. Yeah, clearly this is why we should purge the Lalafells, right? Like... Bad news, boss.
Welcome back, my friend. I have already received word from Alfino. To think that Flame Marshal Huayu was the Garlean agent.
Ryu?
I know not what to say. Together with Robon, Eileen lent us much needed aid at the time of our Order's founding. She was particularly passionate about the need to tackle the primal threat. When we discussed the subject, her eyes fairly shone with determination. Whatever else she may have been, I choose to believe that it was her true self with whom I spoke then. But now is not the time to dwell on such matters. I have an important announcement to make regarding our effort to defeat the Ascians. We shall begin as soon as everyone is assembled. My thanks for coming, friends. Moonbreeder, the floor is yours.
By now, I'm sure you're all familiar with white auracite, the miraculous material that'll allow us to capture Ascian souls.
Ooh, we got
Back at Snowcloak, we verified its ability to absorb vast amounts of ether.
Nice.
Alas, it leaves something to be desired in the area of stability. The stone can only store ether for a short while before expelling its contents.
In addition to auracite's inherent limitations, we must needs be wary of our enemy's strength. Our foe draweth upon an infinite wellspring of power. Even should we succeed in entrapping him, the stone will not long contain his wrath.
Meaning that, if we want to kill the swine, we'll have to be quick about it.
'Tis our belief that an Ascian soul may be permanently undone, if smitten by a sufficiently concentrated burst of pure ether.
We need an ether cannon!
The only trouble is, we can't say for sure how concentrated the burst needs to be. Without knowing how much ether an Ascian soul is composed of, we're basically guessing.
Our sole clue lieth in thy struggle with La Habrea.
I did stab him real good.
During that encounter, Heidelin bid you forge what she called a Blade of Light, a weapon which took the form of a luminous stream of energy.
Hugh, have a
Based
good
on
one.
your description, we believe the blade with which you vanquished your foe was composed of ether. Admittedly, your victory proved ephemeral, as La Habrea was able to use a crystal of darkness to flee into the space that lies between our world and the void. The fact remains, however, that Heidelin placed the means to destroy the Ascians in your hands. Be that as it may, it would be unwise to assume that she will do the same when we next encounter such a foe.
Quite so, my lady. We must needs find the means to forge our own blade of ether, one to equal that which Heidelin did benevolently bestow upon her champion.
That is all well and good, but it seems to me that producing such a blade will require a prodigious quantity of ether. Whence will it come, pray tell?
Oh, what if we had 2 pieces of white auracite? One to trap the Ascian, and the other to store the ether for the blade.
Oh, nice try.
I don't-
But it's as I said, the stone won't hold ether for any length of time. We'd still need to collect the stuff there and then, sorry to say.
And therein lies the rub. Finding a way to create the blade whenever and wherever we choose.
It would seem more research is in order.
I'm going to linger a while, perform a few more tests on the aura site. And I could do with some help. Urianger, why don't you lend me a hand?
I love how much she hits on him. That is hilarious.
Mine apologies, but I am required at the waking side.
He's so scared of her.
Lady Minfilia hath given me sole charge of the premises. 'Twould be unseemly to leave them unattended.
Sole charge, you say? So you're basically alone there, then?
Oh, he fucked up.
That settles it. I'll just have to come to you.
He fucked up. I just like, no. But my studies. I can't have a harlot amongst my
While you were
studies.
afield, word arrived from the Sharlayan motherland. You will recall that a survey party was dispatched to investigate the incident at the Isle of Val. What they discovered was troubling, to say the least.
I'm assuming he's just fucking gone.
According to the report, the Isle has been erased from existence. 'Twas as if a hole had been torn in the very fabric of reality.
Yeah, okay, that adds up.
Aye, yet the mystery endeth not with the Isle's disappearance. It hath come to light that a number of scholars in various other locales were reported missing at a similar juncture.
What's more, they all had something in common with the head of the students of Baldessian. Every last one of them was researching a phenomenon called dimensional compression, or the rejoining as the ancient texts call it. I'll be damned if that's a coincidence.
They got compressed,
all
all right.
indications suggest Asian involvement. But I sense that a force greater still is at work. The entity the Dark Beings call the One True God. We must pray that my dear friend Kryl regains consciousness soon. If she bore witness to the Isle of Val's final moments, she may be able to shed some light on this mystery.
There's a lot of shit going down in Ul'dah.
Following the calamity, the forces of the 14th Imperial Legion entrenched themselves in strategic locations across Eorzea. So swiftly did they accomplish this, it was suspected that they had received help. To think that it came from Huayu, my right hand.
How do you get Huayu from that?
There is more. We have reason to believe that Huayu didn't deal exclusively with the 14th.
What?
She also answered to a higher authority in Garlemald.
None of those
But this
letters
higher
are in there.
authority could not have been the Emperor. By consenting to the media project, Solus Zos Galvus showed himself to be more concerned about preventing the spread of primal influence than claiming Eorzea for the Empire. He would happily have seen the lot reduced to ash. We believe a number of high-ranking figures within the royal household were against the decision, but that they knew better than to oppose the Emperor openly. Of course, this didn't prevent them from making clandestine provisions, in which Huayu played a part.
Alas, these provisions did not prevent Dalamud from falling, and the ensuing chaos changed the face of the realm forever. Yet Eorzea survived. To all intents and purposes, the Meteor Project had failed, and the Empire was left to rue its lack of a decisive means to eliminate the primals. Until, that is, it stumbled upon the Ultima weapon.
Even before the accursed thing was dug up, it seemed to me the 14th had the might to overwhelm our weakened armies. Yet they chose to hide behind their walls. Why?
The Black Wolf was wary of making the denizens of Eorzea desperate, lest more primals emerge to bleed the land. The discovery of the Ultima weapon, however, emboldened him to resume his war of conquest in earnest.
But there was one in Garlemald who believed that Van Belsar's actions were premature. One who stood higher in the Imperial Army's chain of command. He ordered the Legatus to halt his advance, only to find that the Black Wolf had slipped its leash, and that the 14th now acted alone. In a bid to bring Van Belsar to heel, he used the agent he had planted in Ul'dah prior to the Calamity to undermine the Legion's efforts.
A man who outranks Van Belsar, yet opposed the late Emperor's decision to annihilate Eorzea. This could only be the former High Legatus of the Garlean army, now known as Emperor Varys Osgalvus. So he was Huayu's true master.
But one of several in actual fact. We've learned that even as Huayu served the Empire's interests, she sold Imperial secrets to a certain faction in Eorzea. In so doing, she helped to maintain the status quo, thus prolonging the conflict. Considering who stands to profit from war, it isn't hard to imagine who her other masters were.
Fucking Monitoress!
7 hells! You mean to say that she was a double agent?
Triple, if you consider her services to Van Belsar and the new Emperor as separate.
As neatly as these pieces seem to fit, one aspect of the puzzle remains unclear to me. By whose will was the Marshal feeding intelligence to the heretics? And try as I might,
oh, the heretics.
I fail to see how aiding their cause would profit either her Imperial or Monetarist masters. Could it be that another hand is at work here? If so, Huayu must be made to reveal whose it is.
Not only have I lost a trusted friend, now I must interrogate her as a stranger.
Not a pleasant task, I grant you, but a necessary one. Unless we weed out the ivy, root, stalk, and stem, it will simply grow back.
I know that full well. Those closest to Huayu have already been detained, and I will question them alongside her.
General, pray keep in mind that there may be unwitting abettors among them.
All will be treated fairly. On that you have my word. Those who are innocent have no cause to fear.
You have ever been a friend of truth, General. I hope the unpleasant task of weeding out falsehood will not detain you too long. Though it be for the sake of Eorzea, doubting one's comrades is poison to the soul. And with that, I take my leave.
Have I considered purging all Lalafell? I wouldn't want to purge all of them. There's like 3 or 4 Lalafells that are okay. 3 or 4 that are cool.
All these years, I've been made to dance to their tune. How could you, Huayu? How could you side with them?
I was gonna say, Raban's gonna be fucking pissed.
Those cankers who take from this land and give naught in return, who use their power to disempower and grow fat while the people starve. I know you can hear me, Monitorist scum. Your crimes will not go unpunished. Today I will purge this land of your sickness before the eyes of the 12. I swear it.
Raban's here to kill capitalism.
I shall have no further need of you this day. Your Grace. I fear that not even mine own chambers shall remain private for long.
Has the situation grown so grim?
Ah! I said it, just there, jump scare.
Ever since he proposed the Cartiner Reclamation Bill, Teleji Adeleji has risen to greater prominence upon the backs of impoverished refugees. The monetarists were ever united in their pursuit of profit, but the man's actions have torn a rift in their ranks. They snap at each other as rabid dogs. Yet now is not the time to be bickering among ourselves.
If this bickering is a threat to law and order, might you not have grounds to dissolve the Syndicate?
Would that the solution were so simple, Admiral. Alas, my moving to dissolve the Syndicate is certain to spark outrage among the influential merchant class, whom the Cabal represents.
I will say
this would serve to exacerbate the current unrest, and peace would slip still further away.
Ul'dah does have the most
Be they
interesting...
rich or poor, natives or refugees, all who reside in Ul'dah have a right to pursue happiness. It is the duty of a ruler to protect this right.
Ul'dah has the most interesting political
If I am
situation.
to perform my duty, I must needs tread warily. It would not do to make enemies heedlessly. Were Lord Lolorito here, he would doubtless say that I have my head in the clouds.
A ruler is required to take a wide view. Try as we might to cater to all needs, some will inevitably be overlooked. As such, there shall ever be citizens who feel aggrieved. It cannot be helped.
Also, I like that they're just having a girls'
As you have
night.
informed us, the monetarists take no view but their own. They hunger for power while the masses starve.
This is so
In the
relatable.
absence of a common cause, it seems beyond any one individual to make Ul'dah whole.
And the presence of a Garlean agent within the Immortal Flames only makes matters worse. Even accounting for Ul'dah's historic reliance upon mercenaries, such a grievous breach of security is unprecedented. I fear this business will provide the monetarists with a rod to beat Rauban.
Eorzea can ill afford for the Immortal Flames to be dampened now. Ere long, the Garleans will turn their ravenous gaze toward our lands once more. If we are to resist their might, our nations must stand together.
I love how you can tell Mervib is just
For
like,
this to happen,
let's just shoot
our
him.
nations must be whole. Cannot be done to improve the situation in Ul'dah.
Let's just shoot the monetarists.
The true wealth of Ul'dah lies in the health, happiness, and hopes of her citizens. Alas, the citizens shall never know these things, so long as their lives are ruled by the ambitions of the few.
Eat the rich! Eat the rich!
Claim to represent the best interests of the people, but in sooth they desire only to manipulate them for their own selfish ends. For the government to serve the people, it must be formed of the people. For Ul'dah to move forward, it is not only the Syndicate that must be dissolved.
Oh shit!
Nay, you jest.
Is she gonna step down?
My friends, it was for no other reason than to make known to you mine intent that I requested your presence here. When I make my declaration to the people, chaos shall inevitably ensue. As the last monarch in the line of Ul, I make unto you this request. Help Rauban to preserve order and protect the people. Forsake them, and you forsake yourselves. For a strong Eorzea will ever have need of a strong Ul'dah.
Well, that's genuinely surprising. I didn't think she'd dissolve the monarchy.
Your Grace, are you certain of this?
There is no other way. When the time is ripe, the nation shall become a true republic. Both royalists and monetarists shall cease to be. Ul'dah will no longer belong to kings or queens or merchant princes, but to her people. Roban, forgive me for casting aside all that you have toiled for in my name. Beyond this gesture, I am powerless to help my subjects.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, her power was so heavily restricted by the Monitarists. Like, she had to. Good intentions. I got the Dreams of Ice achievement. I am most eager to address the Ascian threat. However, we dare not neglect our other pressing concerns. We both know full well that Saint Shiva will not be the last primal we face. Our relationship with Ishgard is still tenuous at best. To think that the resolution of the primal threat was once the sole priority of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. Some days I wonder if it was wise for us to take on so many other responsibilities. Lest you forget, Antecedent, the Scions need not shoulder the burden alone. We're not the Crystal Braves established for this very reason. True, we are presented with a multitude of problems. However, we have all the resources we need to address them in turn. Dalkarius, in particular, is ever a steadying hand, who I trust will continue to support the Braves. To what do we owe the pleasure? Have there been further developments regarding the situation in Ul'dah? As expected, the Immortal Flames have been struggling to cope with the revelation that one of their highest-ranking officers was a Garlean agent. Suffice it to say, Teleji Adeleji and his Monarchist ilk have wasted no time in attempting to turn the situation to their advantage. Coupled with ongoing unrest, the Flames are finding themselves hard-pressed. Plainly, General Raban needs our help, and I will direct the Crystal Braves to offer what support they can. If I am to stay abreast of the latest developments and issue effective orders, however, I cannot afford to waste time traveling back and forth. And so, for the foreseeable future, I think it would be best if I were to remain in Ul'dah, unless you have an objection. None whatsoever. We have matters here well in hand. Moonbrida's research is proceeding as planned. So she tells me, though I am not familiar with the details. Urianger is poring over his tomes at the Waking Sands, and the others are contributing in their own ways. Alas, the key problem, how to form an ethereal blade at will, remains unsolved. Nevertheless, it is only a matter of time. Dalkarius, while we focus on that task, mayhap you could assist Alphino and his braves with theirs. It would do much to restore the faith in the Immortal Flames if the Warrior of Light was seen working on their behalf. Never forget that your esteemed status allows you to act in ways that those more tightly bound to organizations and nations cannot. As such, I implore you to do so. Not that your response was ever in doubt, but I humbly thank you once again for aiding our cause. Now then, there are preparations I must attend to before my departure, such as receiving Riel's last report. He has proven to be quite skilled at gathering information others wish kept secret, hence why I placed him under my direct command and ordered him to investigate the Ul'dah riots. When you are finished here, join me outside. Depending on what he has to say, I may soon have a favor to ask. If there are any developments on our front, I shall inform you at once in the usual fashion. Oh, we finished 2.4! Woohoo! What are our thoughts on Ilbert as a character? He's pretty awesome. Ilbert's great. I mean, he's basically just kind of discount Raban. So, he's great. Good character. Can't complain. Alright, I do want to pop by Vesper Bay really, really fast because I'm curious if Urianger is going to have the Shiva Extreme quest for us now. Looks like he does. Wrong way again. Yep. By thy high deeds with the people of Korthus bears certain doom at the hands of a deiform entity. Yet at the missive we received from Lord Dromont of House Durender speaketh true, 'twould seem that hard-won respite had come and gone.
Hi Sotek, I'm currently making a timeline of the major events in WH. Two things I've noticed. One, Neferata and the undead in general. Why is the alternative novel timeline so different and confusing?
2, although chaos has evolved, the catastrophe and the end times is actually surprising how few of the events between them involve them directly. so yeah. Yeah, Neferata and the vampires have a horrible, actually no, just the undead. Nagash and the vampires, that's a better way to put it. Nagash and the vampires have a miserable set of novels. The Nagash trilogy and the Masters of Death series, so Rise of Nagash by Mike Lee and the Masters of Death by Josh Reynolds, useless. They are super fucking useless. I cannot express to you how much I hate those books because they were written so poorly. Mike Lee did not understand anything he was writing about. And Josh Reynolds just decided to make his own fanon and ignored everything else. Josh Reynolds did not give a fuck about the vampire lore. He wanted to write his own story, and he did. And it's for that reason that I heavily encourage people not to read Masters of Death, because it's just gonna fuck up your entire thing, your entire understanding of events, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, he will have them appear in places they physically could not have been in when he wants them to be there. And he also does weird things with their relationships, and it's just dumb. Mike Lee, I do not say this about the person. I say this about the story he chose to write. I genuinely believe that Mike Lee wrote the most damaging single set of novels to Warhammer Fantasy canon ever. He wrote the absolute worst, most damaging piece of shit trilogy that has ever had an impact on the Warhammer Fantasy setting. His writing is horrible, and it fucks up the universe so bad that it becomes unrecognizable. He single-handedly breaks so much about the Tomb Kings, Nehekara, the vampires, on just the way undeath works, the way the gods work. Mike Lee did not have a single fucking clue what he was talking about. He just didn't understand Warhammer Fantasy. And I don't think that it's that surprising that he has not written that much for Warhammer Fantasy. I think the only things he's written for Warhammer Fantasy was the Nagash trilogy. He wrote a couple of Malice Darkblade books, and that's it. I think that's literally the only thing he wrote. Maybe he wrote some other short stories, but he's contributed very, very little to the setting, and that is a mercy. That is a mercy, because he doesn't understand Warhammer Fantasy. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand how it works. He doesn't understand the nature of the setting. He doesn't understand... He doesn't do any research. Fucking mess.
Dynamo95 cheered. X100. On that note, is Alcades actually a vampire, or at least given Neferata's elixir of life in the main canon or not?
No. And here, let me fuck with you more, Dino Man. Mike Lee, this is another thing he fucked up. In the original canon, and all of the other versions of the story that were written afterwards, there is no relation whatsoever between Alcatazar and Neferata. In the original story, and all the stories that came after the novel, Alcatazar and Neferata never met each other. They never met. They don't know anything about each other. Well, that's not true. Neferata knows a lot about him. But, like, Mike Lee's whole bullshit about how Alcatazar was, like, raised in Lamia and, like, Neferata was basically grooming him to be a husband and, like, all that shit, that's just Mike Lee doing stupid bullshit. The romance between Archon the Black and Neferata, stupid bullshit. That's just Mike Lee. Mike Lee is purely where that came from. The idea that the Nehekharan gods were made by, like, a pact with an individual human, and that if that human died for any reason, the Nehekharan gods just, like, ceased to exist, Mike Lee. The understanding that Cathay got involved in the Nehekharan war, and Nagash wasn't defeated by the Nehekharans, but was only defeated because Cathay showed up with a bunch of guns and shot him in the fucking face, Mike Lee. The idea that Nagash is like a fucking idiot constantly, Mike Lee. Like, Mike Lee, terrible writer. Like, holy fuck. Anything that comes from the Nagash trilogy, throw it straight into the dumpster. Like, just ignore it. Otherwise, if you're trying to understand the setting, throw all of it in the garbage. I genuinely would say, there is nothing of use from that series. And I never say that. But Mike Lee's writing, like, at least from the Josh Reynolds stories, Neferata, Master of Death, there's stuff you can use. There are things there that are easy to transpose into the overall setting. There are a number of things that I even highly recommend transposing. But Mike Lee, absolutely not. Throw everything he wrote right in the trash. It was terrible. Anyway, sorry. Recovered from her wounds, the Lady Iceheart hath rejoined the struggle against Ishgard. Worse, 'tis said that her disciples have already laid claim to a hoard of crystals. A hoard far exceeding the quantity, but recently wrestled for the caravans of House Forton. 'Tis all but certain that the heretic's mistress intendeth to call upon Saint Shiva once more. So once more must Eorzea's blade of light be brought to bear against a primal. None save thee hath might enough to defeat such a foe. 'Tis for this reason that Lord Dromon hath requested thy presence at Whitebrim Front. Pray hie thee thither with all haste. Drop dead Shiva. Like, I get so spicy just thinking about Mike Lee's book. It makes me so mad. Marion Rod, have a good night. I'm almost done myself. I'm literally just gonna, like, get the activation for the Shiva fight, and I think I'm gonna call it a night there. Because I do need to get some sleep. And we've got 7 hours until Lorebeards now. Sign of the Emperor, thank you for the super chat. Ironic, given he co-wrote the Malice Darkblade series with Dan Abnett. I would say it sounds like Dan Abnett reined him in and made sure he didn't goof anything up. Maybe Dan Abnett was able to save him. Granted, Malice Darkblade had it's pretty easy to criticize.
Mornington Crescent cheered.
Malice Darkblade is a series.
When you talk about that, right? Favorite Black Library
My favorite is probably either Nathan Long or... I would say it's Nathan Long. I love Nathan Long. Bill King's also really good. Or William King. Bill King and Nathan Long are pretty S tier. C.L. Werner's another really, really good one. C.L. Werner has a lot of really impressive works. Nathan Long's probably my overall favorite. He's done a lot of really good stuff. My gratitude for your timely return, Dalcarius. Would that thou were under better circumstances. Our efforts to contain the heretic threat in the Western Highlands beyond Snowcloak have suffered a grievous setback. In order to support expeditions further afield, we sought to establish an outpost in the heretic's former fortress. Under God, our craftsmen began the necessary improvements, and for a time all proceeded according to plan. The building work had scarce begun when Iceheart's minions descended upon the fortress from all directions. If I were to guess, I would say they deliberately delayed their attack until sufficient supplies had been delivered to their doorstep. I do not begrudge my men their decision to flee. By all accounts, it would have been a slaughter. Any survivors condemned to a fate worse than death at the hands of their leader. However, by abandoning our crystal stores, we have given the heretics the means to summon their patron saint. I beseech you, Dalkarius, slayer of the gods of beastmen, who banished once before the demon who threatens us now. Lend us your strength. Infiltrate Snowcloak and put an end to Iceheart's machinations. Thank you, my friend. Though I pray you can stop her before she completes her ritual. I have faith you can defeat Shiva should it come to that. One of Sir Emmerich's temple knights awaits you at Snowcloak. He shall guide you through secret tunnels to the Aetherite at the heart of the heretics' fortifications, whence you may gain entrance to Iceheart's sanctuary as before. Yeah, the Malice Darkblade novels are kind of have a bit of an interesting vibe, because they are... Malice Darkblade as a series is very, very, very heavily inspired by another series.
Dynamo95 cheered. X100. Fun fact, Robert Rath, who has written some 40k stuff, like The Infinite and The Divide, is also the main writer for Extra History on YouTube.
Oh, fun. I've heard really good things about The Infinite and The Divide. I really would love to see him write some fantasy books at some point. He seems like a pretty good author. It is an honor, sir. When you are ready, I shall lead you through the tunnels to the Aetherite. You should not be troubled by heretics or beasts along the way, so you may concentrate solely at the task at hand. May the Fury grant you the strength to strike down that heathen witch once and for all. There it is. Now accessible. Okay. I think that is a good stopping point for tonight. It's 2:30 a.m. I do need to get some rest, and I need to like brush my teeth and everything. So I think we're going to go ahead and call it a night there. Got a lot of good stuff done. We're going to finish 2.5 tomorrow evening, I think. But we got Lorebeards in about 7.5 hours. For Lorebeards on the old ones, which should be super fun and exciting. I hope you all consider joining us for that. Yeah, should be a good time. So anywho, I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. And I thank you all so much for joining me. I'm going to check real quick just to see if there's anybody on YouTube or Twitch that I'm buddies with and maybe we could raid. If not, then we'll just go straight to bed. But if so, I don't know who that is, so that's a no. Okay, nobody on YouTube. On Twitch. God damn, Ecto, look at her. Got 1,000 people watching. Good for you, Ecto. God damn. Let's go hang out. Oh, she got a new model. Oh, yeah, sure. Let's raid Ecto. She's got a new model. Let's go support our VTuber buddies. Yeah. Oh, she got a new model. Gotta support your buds. Oops. Also gonna spam this in YouTube chat in case y'all want to join us. Feel free to say hi to Ecto. Please tell her I said hello. Oh, it's my 14th sub anniversary. I guess I will say hello. But hope you all have a wonderful night. I had a really good time tonight. I'm excited to keep moving forward with the story. And I'll see you all soon. Take care. Good night.